All right, Hotep family, welcome to the Pro Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. You're listening to your host, Onitaset Kumat, the author of the Pro Black Compendium and the author of the Book of Power, as well as, of course, Zuberi. So today we're going to review some of the wisdom in Zuberi, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So thank you for tuning in. Anybody wanting to join the conversation, you already know you can click on this Discord link. That's in the description, or you can click on the Discord link in the chat, in the live chat. But right now we're hosted on YouTube, and I hope you enjoy it. We're going to be reading. We're going to try to jump towards the middle. So let's just say, let's put a random number, 32, and let's go. So this is one of the things right here. So this is Zuberi is black masculinity. Okay, so if you want to learn about black manhood in a future, like what a nation builder would look like in a Pan-African future, Zuberi is like your answer. So as you can hear, I kind of do have this kid in the background. Kind of don't want him in the background, but I can't really do much about it. But it is what it is. Let's go. I expand my experiences by investing in my own people. And enriched people offer enriched experiences. You know, this is contextualized. Like contextualize this. It's a really short book, okay? Very short book, like 50 pages, right? And it's read very quickly. So you try to pack in philosophical discourses in a handful of pages, right? So this more aligns with, in the context of dating, where are you going to bring whoever you're dating, right? Uh, Zuberi's date offers to, ask him whether he wants to try some Italian food, because they're in America, and Italian food is right down the corner. And he says, no, look, she says, well, if you want to like have outside experiences, if you will. And he says, no, my experiences are in investing in my own people, because when my people are enriched, then they offer enriched experiences. And just the same, when I go to these Jamaican restaurants by me, they can give me fried rice. You know what I mean? They give me fried rice. Sometimes they could give me lo mein. They can give me like a Trinidadian spot I know, they offer Chinese style chicken wings. You know, the reality is that, and then here's the thing too. I want to say this. When I was being mentored by a sister, in America, she was telling me that these Chinese would go around and buy the bean pies and ask for how to make them, because she was a part of the NOI, so they would go and they'd ask that, and then of course they would sell bean pies in Chinatown or wherever, or even in China, who knows? But the point being that, you want to keep giving your people more and let your people branch out and discover new things. Like if you want to try new foods, you let your people, your chefs, try the foods. You empower them, you enrich them to try the foods, remake it, and do what they have to do with it. The same way, like how, like if I want to program a game, I would look at Wazungu's games, and then and then if I were to program a game, it would be for something to make it even better for us as a people, you know. But so that's something that I think that is really important. The idea of just investing in your own people and bringing it forward like that. Let's go to the next one. So his mind traveled to the past, where Africans at home and abroad had neither resources nor resourcefulness. Yet through intelligent self-enrichment, they now had products and productivity. Intelligent self-enrichment is the narrative of the world. Everybody who has something on this planet is going through intelligent self-enrichment. Everybody who empowers themselves is going through what's known as intelligent self-enrichment. Enriching yourself is one of the is the main principle of almost everything going on this planet. When we say the rich are getting richer, that's because they are doing what's known as self-enrichment. The nation is geared towards the rich and the wealthy, partially because the rich and the wealthy run the nation. You understand? So that's really like the gist of it. There are people who do not self-enrich, and that's why you can also say the poor get poorer. Uh, but let's go on. When once because I feel like I read that last week. Let's say, or last month. When once the products around him, or on him and in him, were from Eurasians, everything he consumed now was African. His food, his clothing, his shelter, and his consciousness was African. Right? This is your goal. Your goal in life is to have your food, clothing, shelter, and consciousness be African. But right now, you have to ask yourself, what is your food? Like, whose food are you eating? Whose clothes are you eating? Whose shelter are you living in? And whose consciousness is in your head? You know, one of the things that you're going to find, like a sister was telling me, that when you watch like a Nollywood film, or like let's say if you watch a Bollywood film, okay? Bollywood being India, they're all speaking Indian, right? If you watch a classic Chinese film, they're all speaking Chinese, you know? Occasionally, yes, they might drop a few English words, but, you know, at the end of the day, occasionally in English movies, you know, you drop a foreign word as well. You know what I mean? You know, you maybe not any Chinese as far as I know, but, you know, as others have said, as others have pointed out, you know, a lot of the words in the American lexicon or the English lexicon are, in fact, African words. Like, I think yam and plantain, maybe, I don't know, but like, you know, different foods and so on and so forth. But not just that, you know, and of course, you know, you also know that in American lexicon, you know, it's heavily influenced by the if you will, African American lexicon, or, you know, African American phraseologies. Like, I mean, I don't know per se, you know, like basically like urban culture. It's like heavily influenced by urban culture to the point where, like, you know, they're giving daps and what have you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's just something common and commonplace, even if it sometimes ridiculed. But the reality being that, you know, at the core of everyone else's media, whether they be Indian, whether they be Brazilian, is their own language and their own clothing. You know, like I said with Bollywood being India, they're characterized by their traditional Indian dress code, or the same with the Chinese. But when you look at African film, like films out of Africa, you know, like films out of Nigeria, if you will, you know, the what they're dressed in is they're dressed like Europeans, and how they speak is minus the accent, they speak like Europeans. You know, they might riddle a few of their own indigenous words in there, but for the most part, it's European through and through. And then of course, like, what their domiciles look like, you know, their shelter is clearly of the Western influence. So you know, as opposed to like other places where, you know, they have their own, at least they have their own spin on modern architecture. But, you know, that's something that, you know, we have to strive toward, as opposed to where we are right now, which is, you know, very much imitating the Wazungu. So let's see. Why would I make a promise that conflicted with my principles? So this is the idea of when you make promises, you have to consider your principles as well. This is actually pretty interesting because, you know, a lot of times, you know, this is about self-knowledge in a sense of self-knowledge really pertain. Like, a lot of times you're gonna hear black people talk about self-knowledge, and, you know, you just kind of want to tune it out because that's all they say. They say, oh yeah, self-knowledge, but I need self-knowledge, right? But, you know, when you talk about, if you really want to have a true discussion on self-knowledge, you want to talk about what are your principles. You know, you want to talk about what are your principles, and what can you promise to other people. You know, like for instance, you see, I have my son in the background, if you will, right? Like, what are my principles? My principles is to keep my son, you know, close. My principles are to protect my son, you know, and so on and so forth. So I don't really do things that conflict with those principles, you know. So let's say if I wanted to, you know, like I tend to. All right, like for instance, I don't really like these white boys. I don't like white folk, right? Like, my principles is to keep my son away from white folk, you know, to the best of my ability. Well, to the extent that I can. You know, obviously we cannot completely do that, but, you know, to the extent that I can, it's like, oh well, what about, let's say there's a park, the park, and all the kids are playing, and the way how black kids are is that their parents send them to go play with white kids pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, or at least the white kids are there, the black kids are there, and they all play like without any racial bias. Uh, and to me, that's like, no, I'd rather my kid not play with these white kids, you know. And so if there are black kids there who are playing with white kids, he's not playing with those white kids either. You know what I'm saying? Because that it would conflict my principle for him to. Because like there are pictures of me in like elementary school with like white friends, you know. And that's the last time I had white friends. No, I'm just, that's not the but like the point being that there's a confusion that comes about if you're really racially minded, if you're really racially minded towards interracial warfare, right? Then the question of, oh well, my kids are going to play with your kids and that's fine, but that's my objective, is clearly a breach of principle. So when you talk about self knowledge, you really should be discussing what are your principles, and how your principles may align with other people's interests, and of course your promises to other people. Uh, so like I don't promise like things that whatever. So here's another one. It's like my first duty is to my race. And of course, see, this is interesting too, because like let's say you're saying, hey, wait, what about this? If your duty is to your race, right? Then what if a child needs a friend, but they have a friend? They're already friends with white folk. Would you then send your child to as a duty to your race, so on and so forth? So that's really like that's real life. It's a real complicated situation. It's a real complicated situation, but obviously not really. Because again, if your duty is to your race, a lot of like, and that's the thing that you have to emphasize here too. It says my first duty is to my race. In the pro-black compendium, what I point out is that you want race first, family. No, you want race, family, community, and nation first. So, but the idea truly being that they all are one and the same, in the sense that they're all kind of degrees of one another. Uh, just degrees or scales of one another. Race being a global scale, nation being obviously a national scale, community being a local scale, and family being a very local scale. You know what I mean? But the truth being that when it comes to this race first narrative, it's like you have your son, and you're like, oh well, should I send my son to play with this kid, blah blah blah. But you have to consider the well-being of your own son, because that too is going towards the race mentality, the race first mentality. So like, should I have my son subject to these white folk because somebody else failed to enforce like community standards in a sense? And of course the answer is no. So I mean, again, my first duty is to my race, but you have to understand that your race is a scale. It's a scale. It's not simply oh well, we're all African, right? It's also you have to look out for your community, you have to look out for your family, and you have to look out for your nation. And that's really like I think that's the complication that we tend to ignore. I want to just broaden it for a little bit and bring up the discussion that I was having about how people say, oh well, we don't like incarceration of individuals in a sense, right? And it's like there are quote unquote like violent offenders, like serial violent offenders, and if and like violent offenders against their own community, right? So that even if they are African, notwithstanding their race, there wouldn't be good to their community, And so when you say race first, you have to, like I said, that's the scaling comes in, and you say, well, look, I'm not really going to go defending, some brothers who's harming sisters. You get what I'm saying? And the reality is that most of us do that, but then on the other hand, we tend to, like we tend to want to overlook that, Because I think there was a long time ago, there was this discussion around this brother who was slaughtered by the police or whatever, and like here in America, they were slaughtered by the police, and he had a history of like just like if you looked at his life, like he's in interracial relationships where he's dismissing African women, and on top of that, his choice of woman, if you will, is also dismissing African women. You know what I mean? So, or sorry, not dismissing the African women, but dismissing African people in general. You know. That said, it's like, if you're really looking out for your community, if you're really looking out for your family, if you're really looking out for your nation, such a person isn't really, the who you would rally your resources behind. I mean, as tragic as the story may be, again, one of the things that we have to understand, and this is something that I want to make as a future podcast, but it's the difference between a nation builder and a population builder. And the reality being that this person would be neither, because they're a population builder for Wazungu, in a sense, and to the worst extent. So that this person would be neither, and that's really when you have a building consciousness, a consciousness focused on building, you're not really lamenting those who are building against you. And that's really, that's a real concise way of looking at things. I want to articulate it another time, possibly on my social media, and then, here on YouTube. So, that said, make sure you follow at Onitaset, Onitaset. All right. Let's see. So, family derives its strength from race. There are no strong families in a weak race. I am strong because we are strong, family derives its strength from race. There are no strong families in a weak race. I am strong because we are strong. It's, again, the interconnection of race, family, community, and nation cannot be understated. And this is something that you're going to get from Zuberi. Zuberi is like the philosopher warrior that you haven't read. Not too many of these copies of this book have been sold, so I know you haven't read it. Although the people who have read it, they have told me, wow, that's an amazing book. More people should read it. And I'm like, yeah. Anyway. I mean, right now I'm selling it cheaper than it used to be. So it's only $10 right now. So, like, you don't really have an excuse. It used to be $15 because it's so freaking good. But I said to myself, you know what? If nobody's buying it, let me put it on $10. And still nobody was buying it. So it was like, oh, well, whatever, it could just be $10 anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, $0, $0 is $0. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. To the race, one must be true. Only in this way is one true to family. So, if you want to be true to your race, you have to be true. No, if you want to be true to your family, you have to be true to your race. Like Zuberi is the embodiment of race consciousness, the embodiment of a race man. I feel like I read this last time. Yeah, so I'm just going to just jump into it. It said that in ancient Africa, there were occasions when a nation needed to execute one of its own, and they tasked the mother of the perpetrator with the deed of death dealing. It is in practices like these that the family strength is realized. Again, so the nation now, so the mother had to put her nation first. I mean, see, and putting her family first, the mother put her nation first. This is actually so. This is heartbreaking for like a actual parent. If you're not a parent, like when I read this before I was a parent, it was like, wow, that's crazy. When I read it now, I'm just like, wow, probably like change my tone, like, yeah, wow, that's crazy. A mother killing her own child is almost like, why would anybody ask you to do that? But of course, if the child is doing something, if the child is supposed to be killed, if you will, it's like, who else to do it? Like if somebody else were to, like, say, kill my kid, it would be like, obviously I'm not going to be good with that. I'm not going to be cool with that, even if I feel like my kid was wrong on something. So and then of course that could cause all sorts of ramifications in a society. But to task the mother to doing it, it's like she can't really be angering anyone except for the community, for a sense. And I mean, obviously, like, I mean, it's that's tough, that's just tough. It's but it said that it happened, so but it's like, wow, that's The people who are parents, they know what that's like. Other people might say, oh, that's interesting, or oh, you're dwelling on it too much. But yeah, that's a lot. All right. So we can pretend to love ourselves, our children, our siblings, or our parents with acts that go against our race, but it's just pretend. Again, you want to, the main thing that you want to do is be race first. Is be race first. And if you aren't race first, then you don't have any love for your people. Let's go. We are a people at war, and it's the victories of that war which make my son my son. See, your child is your child only when you're victorious. Like I said before, this is like something that sticks with me. It's this idea that in the South, I guess, it used to be the case, and this was like the 60s or the 50s or whatever, right? Where if a white man wanted to sleep with your wife, okay, he would go to knock on your door, tell you to get out of your house, and then you would be walking around while this dude is sleeping with your wife, and then he'll pretty much let you back in when he's done. Okay, that's not your wife. If you are that defeated where somebody can just walk in and sleep with your woman, that is not your wife. Okay? And this is something that's really important to realize too, because you're in America, and all right, like I'll give you a classic example. You're in America and you see a bunch of light skinned folk, and you say, oh, they got black parents. I know their parents, they black parents. You don't even know. You understand? You don't even know. Yeah, you know who their parents were. You know their parents were married. You don't know who the father was. Like you see a dude standing there, yeah, my kid, my son, blah, blah, blah. You don't even know. He's crying every day. Okay, he's crying inside because he knows damn well it was some white boy walked in, slept with his wife. And I mean, obviously, I'm not going to say that you can't have a light-skinned child, because you can. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm more saying that there's a larger prevalence. There might be a larger prevalence that's related to Wazungu, and we don't even know. But but just to clarify though, there's I guess pretty typical. I mean, not pretty typical, but it's possible considering the long-term admixture of black people in diaspora for light skin to be like a recurring phenomena. As long as because essentially, I mean, just to clarify, just to make it more poignant, there are some black people who would look phenotypically black, phenotypically African, but be like 75% African, and then there are other Africans who might look phenotypically African and be 60% African. And so when those two mix, you will find someone who is phenotypically, or it might be lighter than both their parents, only because they might take up a significant portion of the Wazungu genes that were dormant in a sense, So that's another possibility. So there's multiple possibilities, but the reality being that there's also the circumstance of having a foreign parent that we just kind of brush over. Anyway, say what you must about people. Each is a nation. The strongest exercise the strongest forms of self-government. The weakest, the weaker. And whatever foreigners hope to accomplish in villainy differs greatly in a structured state or an anarchist state. So, but while Zuberi is telling you that you want to practice a strong form of self-government, and a strong economy and strong economics, strong politics, strong culture, and if you're not doing that, you're probably practicing the weakest, and the reality is that you're most vulnerable when you do not have strong politics, strong economics, and strong culture. This is one of the things that it's like really telling, and I want to just broaden it because I think last week we were having a conversation on stop it. They're having a conversation on what you call I guess Nigeria and so on and so forth, and Nigeria's wealth. And the interesting thing that I found when we were looking up Nigeria's wealth was that its economy, its state budget, its state revenue was entirely due to, well, it was 2/3 oil revenue, right? Whereas the United States, its state revenue was like 80% taxing, 55% being individual tax, and I think 25 or 30%, whatever, being corporate tax. So but for the most part, most of the state revenue was from taxation. Some people would argue that other states, most of the revenue comes from what's it say, tariffs or something. But the main thing to realize is that the stronger form of an economy, if you will, would be individual taxation, as opposed to well, at least stronger than oil revenue, because oil revenue is highly susceptible to an international market, and it's highly removed from the individual citizenry. But and of course, it makes for a biased economy towards that oil stuff. All right. Hold on a second. All right. Okay. So let's go to the next one. So the scourge of the black race has long been its lack of intelligent leadership and self-government. But where there are kingdoms and nations of African design, we see Africans commanding power where others are powerless. Okay, now I'm just getting that. I actually read all this. I'm just like, wait, why does this sound so familiar? But I forgot. I started on this one. Okay, so where there are the scourge of the black race has long been its lack of intelligent leadership and self-government. But where there are kingdoms and nations of African design, we see Africans commanding power where others are powerless. This is important. Where we would command power only in the event of African leadership, African nationalism, okay, African self-government. The reality is that we're not working towards that. Like I just said about the Nigerian revenue problem, it's like you have most of your income coming from oil, right? That's not intelligent leadership. You understand? If most of your oil comes from if most of your revenue comes from crops and so on and so forth, not only are you beholden to that particular industry, but if it's a global market commodity, you're beholden to the global industries in a sense. When it comes to, like I said, compared to taxation, it's a lot more independent. It's a lot more independent if your people have employment for themselves, and in that sense, you might be relying more so on the largest employers, right, for your budget, for your revenue, for your budget in a sense, and of course that will make it. That in itself has its own little bias, but it's not necessarily connected to international markets. You get what I'm saying? Now, of course, those individual corporations are connected to international markets because the markets are going to be international in this kind of economy. But again, they're more so on the lead in that sense, as opposed to following the global market. So that's another thing to also consider. So let's see. The African needs his own nation. He needs to exercise self-government. His men need to be protectors. His women need to be healers. He needs to be a hunter. He needs to be melanin. The Maya nation follows nature. There's nothing to doubt in nature. Let me see something. Yeah. So this right here is just what we have to remember, and this is something that, like I said, you want to evolve your consciousness from the quote unquote black nationalism in a sense. You want to understand that, like, self government is a name. So, as much as we as much as we may, as much as we may, as much as we may, sorry, my son just did something silly. But all right, as much as we may, talk about, of course, the Wazungu's elections, right? Wazungu's elections, we have to realize that Wazungu is exercising self-government, in that he has his own elections and his own his own structure for his government, and he respects the structure of his own government. He respects the leadership, or how it operates and how it functions, how it works in a sense, right? We don't have the same thing remotely, in a sense. We like one thing people would point out is that a lot of our constitutions are copied off of Wazungu. Another thing that we would point out is that, all right, hold on a second, give me 2 seconds. All right, yeah. So you want to do your self-government, and other people do not do, we don't do the self-government for ourselves, and that's really something that we have to start to process. Let's go. So, all right. So it was Keti Asaba who told his son, "Copy your forefathers, for work is carried out through knowledge. I do not need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I need to work. Too many of us are under the false impression that we can be pioneers. They've done it already. Our ancestors have done it already. It's now for us to do as they." So, again, a lot of times we question, how should the future look? How should we, blah, blah, blah. This is in light of how empires that we've had were, long lasting. Hold on a second. All right, yeah. So it was Keti Asaba. It was Keti Asaba. So what's the copy of forefathers? And that's the reality of what we have to do. We have to look about. It's like what Sankofa is, and like I said, what Ma'at may mean, which is to look back at the best examples of your ancestors and take what they knew to work for you. And obviously, you do not want to take from, you don't want to take from those who were defeated, in a sense, or if they were defeated, you don't want to take that part that led to their defeat. But what you do want to take from your ancestors, regardless, just take the best elements and run with it. And of course, that would take analysis for it. So let's see. The white man calls it a patriarchy. To confuse you, he says the man is superordinate and the woman is subordinate. But I'm here to tell you, as a man of the Maa Nation, that there are no men in the white man's world, right? So I think I might explain it later. So let's see. Yeah. So it says there's no men in the white man's world. You understand? And by men, you have to say like protectors, right? Uh, and particularly if you're talking about black folk, it's like this. It's like who should ideally protect black women? And you would say obviously it's black men, but then you have to say in practice who is protecting black women. You understand? And this is where a lot of the problems come for you. But it also, this is why, you want to remove yourself from the Western world. Because essentially how the West is designed such that the protection of a family, in a sense, is removed from the men and put into the hands of the state. So this is something that's like a sociological phenomena that you can find even among white people. So white people used to, like, let's say if there was some sort of domestic abuse going on, right? That white woman's father, this is like white people, the white woman's father would, intervene, or her brothers might intervene. But in the modern sociological, modern justice system, if the father or the brothers intervene, they too would be incarcerated. You know what I mean? Like the abuser can then accuse them, so on and so forth, and they would be incarcerated. You know what I mean? And then of course we would do hashtag, oh, he did this because he wanted to protect his family, whatever. But the court and the system has its laws and its legality, in sense, right? So to say that it's removed from the hands of the people, in a sense, and into the hands of the state, who is not the people, contrary to what people might believe. So what that means is that everybody is demasculinized. The men are demasculinized and replaced by the state, and it's only more tragic when you're in the Wazungu state. You understand? Because if you're in a black state, it's not as tragic. It's not as bad, because in a sense, like if you rationalize it from the white American point of view, you want to have substantial evidence. You want to have a substantive investigation. You want a jury of peers to investigate this domestic abuse charge. Was the woman lying? Was this blah blah blah? Was it really a self-injury? Was it so on and so forth? You want people to investigate. You want the community to investigate in order to really determine, oh yes, this is the guilty party. However, as opposed to, oh well, we beat him up because we thought because he said that thing, but turns out she was lying. Whoopsie, or turns out, or even if she was telling the truth, it's like, oh, we broke his legs and blah 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 blah, and it's like, well, does the community find it appropriate that his legs are broken for that? There's a lot going on there, or like so in a Western Wazungu setting, it's like, okay, well, we as a community have decided, by their own ancestors, to prosecute this according to what we found acceptable in our own legal judicial system. But then if you're an African in the West, you don't have that same, oh, by my ancestor standards. You understand? Now, if you're an African in an African country or an African nation, and that African nation is true towards, building its own self, then yes, you will have that, oh, well, if you're a thief, you have this so and so consequence. If you're doing this, you have this sort of consequence. It's the consequence that we ourselves have determined to be valid and viable, based off of our own, premises and so on and so forth. So, but the main point to be that this is like real. I want to say this is like real nation building, real national consideration, and real life. But the reality being that you're not really in a patriarchy as much as you are just in a nation. But that's ruled by men, obviously, but ruled by white men particularly. But anyway, let's go. Not only does the white man not want you to be a man, as long as you are under his roof, he will kill you the moment you discover or express your manhood. But see us, we're not under the white man's roof, so we don't have that fear that you have in being who you're supposed to be. Right? Let's go. You are at war, you've been at war for millennia, and now you have the expectation to be unwounded while living under your mortal enemy's roof. A lot of you are unwounded because you're at war with the wrong adversaries. You bought the wrong propaganda. And this is something that's really important, like when you say the wrong adversaries. A lot of us are at war with the wrong adversaries. I'll say it this way. black people, we tend to fight ourselves. We tend to fight among ourselves. We tend to focus fire on our own people. You know, to the point where, like, for instance, you know, like I said, like, we're in a nation. I'm right now in America. There are two political parties, or two main political parties, Democrats, Republicans, whatever, right? There are black people. If you speak too much about the Democrats, like, oh, I like the Democrats, blah 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 blah, right? Then black people will attack you, right? And be like, oh, why blah 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 blah, right? Whatever. I don't know what they're really trying to say, but the thing with that is, it's like you're at war with the wrong enemies. You're wrong with the wrong adversaries, and that's not to say that like, if you're talking about war, then no one likes the political parties in America. But if you're talking about voting, that's not the same as like if you're voting, you're really not. I mean, if you're in a position to vote, then either you're not at war, like you're not really engaged in the war, or you're probably trying to sabotage it. Like the reality is that you can't conflate the two contexts. And the thing is this, that like some people, because I was I mean, some people say shilling, but it's not shilling. But just because I wasn't necessarily drinking the Kool-Aid, where it's like, hey, I don't care about the political system of anywhere, yada yada, right? Or I don't care if there's dictator, a local dictator. I don't give a shit, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if they're shooting into crowds and kidnapping people. Who cares? That's nothing to do with me. Yeah, okay. I don't care if they mismanage this coronavirus thing. Whatever, right? Now let's go on. But the point being that, just because I didn't say that, there are people who blocked me. Like, people like long time, or blocked me, unfollowed me, yada yada, just so that they could be in their circle of ignorance in a sense. But the reality being that it's like that's the thing, that's the trouble with the mentality. Because me, I'm like, I don't really want to hear you talking about election stuff, but I'm not gonna necessarily block you. I would mute the words that you use, in regards to the election. But I wouldn't necessarily block you, because I know that after the election, you're gonna kill that noise, and maybe something good could come out of whatever you're saying. But the reality is that a lot of people just want to fight and quarrel and talk about whatever the white boy is doing, and make enemies of their own people in so doing. It's like you're at war with the wrong adversaries, and like I said, a lot of people are unwounded they're unwounded. They have no wounds because they're not facing the enemy. You understand? It's like ADOS or whatever, right? They're not facing the enemy. So you don't hear, you don't hear events saying, oh, I lost everything, or oh, they did this, they did that, they did this to me, they did that to me. At best you heard Tariq Nasheed say that they raided his home, but I think somebody just called a fake raid on him, right? But that's really, like, those would be the wounds if you were really at war. You know what I mean? But if you're just kind of like, oh, I'm just getting money off of my people, and all I'm doing is fighting my own people, right? Which is something that everybody's doing, okay? All these people are doing this. And I say everybody, I don't mean everybody. I mean, like, a lot of these grifters and so on and so forth, what they're doing is they are just going to war with the wrong adversaries, and it's the safest thing they can do. You know what I mean? Like, it's safe to, I was just talking to the sister who, started saying something, and I was like, do you know ADOS? And she was like, oh yeah, actually. Well, she didn't know Yvette Carnell though, which was good, but she was just saying, oh, somebody said African Americans don't have any culture. I was like, well, who would say that? But, she was like, oh, some like Haitian guy, whatever, right? And I was like, what? Okay. But why I bring that up is because, if you're going at war with, what she did, apparently, what she said, she just, spoke to him and said, there's culture, obviously. And I mean, it's a common misconception, I would say, only, it's a common misconception, but it's a misconception about the African American thing. But the reality is that if you then go against these people, if you say, oh man, you Haitians, and you go at war with them for some reason, right? Again, you're not likely to be wounded by it. It's a very safe opponent, because the Haitians aren't really organized. They're not really against African Americans. They're not organized against African Americans. So you would be unwounded by going after the wrong adversary. So that's really like the main thing. So it's like, black Democrats, in a sense, if you're going against black Democrats, it's like, realistically speaking, black Democrats have nothing against black people. You know what I mean? We're not really. So if you're like, if you're a black, quote unquote, you call yourself a black radical, it's not like black people who are black liberals or black Democrats or whatever you want to call them. They're not necessarily organized against you. They're more like, oh, geez, why can't you just vote? Like shut up. You know what I mean? Like, shut up, just vote, and like, let's not have this freaking fascist in power. But that's really like the gist of. What we are about. What they're about, if you will. All right, you look at me, a black man from the Ma Nation, as an invader or intruder, but you call the white man's overseers officers, and give them free rein to steal your children, your labor, your brothers, your sisters, and your self-respect. In the Ma Nation, men like these brothers patrol the streets, not little snowflake crackers. This right here is interesting too, because Zuberi, they live in the Ma Nation, which is like a small colony, if you will, like that's located here in America. So it's like basically if Africa had it's like a little Chinatown, but instead of it's like a little Chinatown, but because Africans have a strong nation, they're able to have a Chinatown or Africa Town, Ma'a Nation in America. You get what I'm saying? So and then that would be the space that black people can live in and occupy. That would be where they can be free because they can patrol their own streets and police their own selves, as opposed to whatever's going on now. And this is the same thing that happened with the Maroons in Jamaica, where they could police themselves. Of course, they had to have like a white surveillance, and they had to like kind of work within a white legal system. But again, if that's because I don't want to say that's because, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a strong nation behind you, like if you are just the only strong nation, you might have to negotiate with other strong nations. Anyway, let's see. The man is the primary protector and secondary healer. The woman is the primary healer and secondary protector. All of us are hunters. Nature has a demand that men and women hunt, but you have to ask yourself, what are you hunting? What are you seeking? What are you developing? And are you a protector or a healer? Most of you follow the white man's design to only strengthen him. This is the reality of our people, that a lot of us, like we don't know what we're hunting. We don't know what we're seeking. We don't know what we're developing. Okay? We're not protecting. We're not healing. Okay? And most of our people, yes, we are only following what the white man wants us to do. And that is to strengthen the white man. A lot of our people just strengthen the white man. A lot of our people just enrich the white man. When you go to work, for instance, you are, for the most part, depending on what your job is, but most jobs are about enriching your employer. You know what I mean? Like the whole reason why they hire you is because they figured you can do something to make them richer. Okay? To make their success rate that much better. And of course they fire you if you don't, so whatever. But like the reality is that a lot of our people are working to make them better and bigger. And I mean, it's like eventually we started bragging about it by saying we built this country, which is, just a nonsensical claim that quote unquote African Americans use. But it's like, you're bragging about making this nation that much stronger and more powerful. And at the expense of your own self and your own economy and your global economy. But anyway, so the shortest way to stay ahead of an opponent is to not let him know that you are ahead of him. So that's really important. When we talk about warfare, that's very important right there. So the shortest way to stay ahead is to not let the other person know you're ahead. Like if we have laser weapons, right? If we have laser weapons, right? And Wazungu doesn't yet. Like we have like alien, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Then Wazungu's not working on. Oh well, we're not. First off, they're not working on defending against laser weapons that you have because they don't think you have laser weapons, right? And on top of that, they're not working on laser weapons either because they're like, you know what, my ballistics is good enough. You know, let me perfect this ballistics. Let me get my ballistics a little better. But so you can now operate in this laser field, and then when the war comes, when the battle comes, you know, you could launch that laser assault, and it's like, whoa, what do they have? You know, and that's actually what happened. Like, let's say in World War One, World War Two, where they started launching these new tanks, and then everybody else had to, you know, get on board. Or they started launching these new fighter jets, or they started launching these new, like I said, ballistic weapons. You know, these new machine guns and so on and so forth. Where it was like, oh wait, hold on a second, you have machine guns that are rifles instead of machine guns that are, you know, like cannons. You know, like you have to push and, you know, have several people mounting or whatever. You know, now you have like ones that you can just hold in your arms, that kind of stuff. So it's like you want to stay ahead at all times, right? So as long as we have these turret, those cannons and those rifles and those jetpacks. See what I'm saying? Jetpacks. The white man will be stupid to attack. So why do we bother standing guard? I didn't say he wasn't stupid, you know? So this was actually two people talking, but I said, let me just make it into one. But it's this idea of, like, you see jetpacks. Like, you know, like nobody's working on counter, you know, aerial assault types, right? Nobody's working on that because, you know, nobody's really has a battle regiment, if you will, that involves jetpacks. But it's like, you can do this. You know, you can do this. You can have like at some point you might go to war. You might you might find a battle where at some point the enemy infantry just starts flying towards you, right? And if you study the art of the rules of warfare, the general rules of warfare, you'll know that when that happens, if you're surprised by the enemy, that can demoralize your troops because they're all preparing for a ground conflict, and then suddenly the enemy is already practicing how to fly and get you. So kind of like the drones in a sense, you know? Like, what do you do? Like, if it's the first time you see a drone, and all you think about for war is World War II and World War One, it's probably going to frighten you in a sense. So it's really important to understand that, you know, in warfare you want to just keep being cutting edge, and that's for what it's worth. That's exactly what America is about. You know, it has, you know, we complain about its military budget, we complain about its military development budget, but that really does keep it ahead of other people. You know, and that's really something that we have to grasp and understand. All right, so let's see. He was white. His trial was a millennia ago. He was guilty then. He's guilty today, and he will be guilty tomorrow. All of them always are. So this is, of course, the idea that, realistically speaking, white people are guilty of whatever it is. You understand? Like, whatever we're talking about, they're guilty. You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's something that you have to understand when you're dealing with how black people are treated differently in America. It's like, yeah, because whatever a white boy says white people are guilty of, we're guilty of by their standards. But they just figured, look, you're guilty. Because that's the way to empower your own people. That's the way to look at your own people.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is, man. Why you said no, it's not?
I don't know.
Anyway, but yeah, this dude really be going on like 12 o'clock. Anyway, but yeah, like white people, like cause I tell you, I was like talking to this sister the other day, and she was telling me, you know, oh, there's this brother who was locked up for stealing like tools. He was stealing tools, and he got many years. And it's like, yeah, that's really sucks, but you know, that's really like how white people look at black people in America. It's like, you know, they're not going to just say, you know what, it's okay, he ain't really do too much harm. They don't like you. You know what I mean? They don't like you. They don't want you in their space. They don't want you in their community. They don't want you in your society. You know? So, you know, and that's the thing about like the nativism in a sense. You know, the nativism that we complain about among our own people, like, it's much more extreme, you know, across race. You know? So whereas like let's say we use the example of South Africa and Nigeria. The South African might not like the Nigerian to con anybody in Nigeria. I mean, sorry, in South Africa. They might not want anybody to con anybody. But like it's the same. But like it's even more extreme when you think about.
Because they're not hustlers.
I mean, no. I mean, like they don't mind they don't like con artists, but they particularly don't like con artists from foreign nations. So it's the same like.
Trying to say, man.
I mean, it's the same like in America where it's
say
like.
Say with your chest.
All right. Anyway, but so like in America though, it's like this white boy doesn't like theft, but he definitely doesn't like theft from black folk. So whereas we might be like, oh well, it was just a farm tool, just a tool. It's like no, we don't want these people, and the fact that they have the audacity, the fact that they have the audacity on top of us not wanting them is all we need to know to just like try to ruin their lives. So that's an interesting so how Zuberi looks at it is that he reverses that. He says, you know what, they're guilty. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is that like we don't know any innocent white folk. Just saying that white folk don't know any innocent black folk. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And you should know this, man. All right, so let's say they are beings of disorder. We are beings of order. Cacophony must die for harmony to live. You should know this. Oh, snap. Anyway, but yeah, beings of disorder and beings of order. And if you want harmony, you have to kill cacophony. Cacophony being the opposite of harmony. But it's like
doesn't order come from disorder?
No. Order is the removal of disorder in a sense. You know what I mean? So disorder. So there was actually, I think Adirafo gives a good example of how there's three different types of things. There's three different types of this subject. Where there's order, there's disorder, and there's non-order. And so like the idea being that like if you just had raw clay, that is non-order. It's not any type of way. If you had clay that was molded into like a pot or pottery, that would be the order in a sense, right? And then if you had
unrefined and refined.
Unrefined and refined. Well, no, and then the other one would be if you had that same pot broken, right? That would be the disorder. You get what I'm saying? So it's like disorder is not the same as order in a sense, and you don't need. And the disorder kind of, particularly if you're talking about like things that are irreversible, Well, it's like the things that are irreversible, like you can't necessarily put the broken pot back together. At least not without.
Or the crazy glue.
At least not without like outside materials or like fusion. Something along those lines. But yeah, that's the difference between them. So it's like, this would be beings of disorder versus beings of order. And I mean the best example being cancer. Like cancer. What it does is that it just grows in it's not the healthy cells. There's healthy cells, and there are cancer who are like unhealthy cells that will continually grow and kill the host, and also in that turn die itself. You know what I mean? So it's like on a rampage of destruction of the human being, and you have to like excise it or something has to happen. But the reality being that it's not necessarily the order of the human being. It's more, and of course a lot of it comes from, sometimes it comes from like, bad habits or whatever, or something along those lines, huh?
Or
I mean, pretty much like, it depends on what you consider a bad habit. Like if you're like standing outside in the freaking sun, without, like all freaking day or something, or you got like weak. Particularly for white folk, it would be standing out in the sun, which is not necessarily a bad habit.
Yeah, skin cancer as well, right?
You said what?
You know that, right?
Yeah, of course I know that. But I mean, it's like it's much more, like you'd have to be out in the sun a lot longer in a sense. But that's what I'm saying about bad habits. Like it depends on what you consider a bad habit, because standing out in the sun is a good habit. But it would depend on your physiology, whether it's like when it would become a bad habit, like the whole too much of a good thing is bad. Like water, like drinking water, huh?
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, exactly. Like drinking water is like a good thing, but you could drown yourself. You know what I mean? Like not like literally drown yourself, but
Yeah, but
like on a cellular level.
to drown yourself by drinking water, you just gotta be like, man, this is stupid. Like, you gotta drink like 7 gallons or something like that.
That's what I said. That's what I said about bad habits. So so like bad habit, more or less.
That's not a habit. That's you just dead after that. You can't just habitually drink 7 gallons of water like at one sitting.
Well, when I say bad habit is more like, like some things happen over. Well, bad habit was more related to the cancer thing, but yeah, it's more like it would be.
Cancer can come about not just due to bad habits. Cancer has many different sources of how it can come about in the body.
Yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm saying, but like one of them would be like acidic foods. One of them be like I said, when I say bad habit, it's like even when you say the water thing, like it would be a bad habit by the definition of you would have to repeatedly drink, like you have to keep doing it. It's not like you'd have to keep drinking like gallon after gallon in a sense, So it's like a poor habit, although usually I guess we think of habit in a longer time frame, but it would just be that. So it's like a lot of things. So, but that's what I'm saying. But like at the same time, drinking water isn't necessarily a bad habit. It's just the drowning part that is, right? Or like swimming isn't a bad habit.
You eventually drown.
But like even this though, I mean like even this though, it's like somebody sprinted, like somebody was jogging a lot. They were jogging a lot. They were like a jogging expert, and then they like I think their body like gave up and died or something like that. Something along those lines. But it's like there are things that you can do that's like considered healthy, but if you do them excessively, it does become something else. So it's like, but that's where the order disorder thing ties in. It's just there are that's what I'm saying. Like cancer is a good idea of what disorder entails, and I mean no, of course it's not always going to be a bad habit because it could just be from a mutation. And everybody mutates.
Of course.
But it's
essentially uncontrolled growth of cells, essentially, at the basic level.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it could just be so and of course I think that's the interesting illustration of what of like human life in a sense that even in the arena of order, disorder is going to come about naturally. But again, when it comes to, but you have to also identify that even if something comes about naturally, it's still disorder. So even though Wazungu is probably fated to exist. Like just an element of humanity in a sense that would manifest eventually. Or of course you shouldn't say eventually because nothing is guaranteed, nothing is certain, but just to the degree that within the
there's nothing certain in life. Is that what you're trying to say?
Nothing certain in evolution. You know what I mean? Like humans weren't guaranteed, so to say that a type of human was guaranteed, doesn't make sense.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like just in general life. I'm like I don't know about that, but.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know about that?
Well, I mean, there's some things that are guaranteed that we all have in life.
Like what?
Death and taxes.
Well, taxes not guaranteed, but yeah.
Someone ain't paying no taxes.
Huh? What is it?
Who ain't paying no taxes?
No, I mean taxes is more like
you gonna pay taxes, but
yeah, that's more like it depends on like where you're born though, what society you're a part of. If you're not like in modern society, you're not necessarily have to pay taxes. Like if you're like in a village, you don't have to pay taxes. You know what I mean? Like you're just in a village.
If you're like in a remote island where you like walk around in loincloths.
Exactly.
I'm sure they pay taxes in like shells,
No, they don't pay
community. Yeah,
No. No, I mean it's like I saw this monkey documentary where people the monkeys were just sitting around eating fruit and hugging each other, like that's a possible life Huh?
Some fruity monkey. What is this?
I mean, it was interesting, but like that's a possible human alternative. Like there are probably
Okay.
humans who just sit around eating fruit and like having
What they?
sex. Well, I mean, it could be the Twa. I don't know what the Twa do, but I don't
Okay.
I
I see
don't
what you
think
mean.
the Twa actually like the Twa.
Well, you
As far
know,
as I
they're
understand, don't pay
more in
taxes.
contact now with modern people, so
Oh, but I'm talking
it's
about like the
close to that.
forest, like the ones in the forest who are like hunter gatherers right now. They're
Okay.
not likely. I mean, they might collect their catches together, but that's not the same as taxes per se. I mean, you'd have to be like it just be a wild. It'd be a wild phrase also. So like death is definitely certain, but like it. I mean, it depends though. You know what I mean? I wouldn't tell because they say that a part of the reason why people die is I think something along with the lines of telomeres being shorter or something like that. Like getting shorter and
Yeah,
shorter.
you're right.
But
Well,
it's
yeah, because we all have certain like telomeres, and like as we were born, right, and over time, as all our cells, 'cause our cells always replicate, we're reducing the length of the telomeres over time,
yeah.
right? So that once you get to like the blunt end, then it's like that's it, you're
Yeah.
finito, done.
Yeah. So it's
And
like but
and like another, go ahead.
well, like that's what I'm saying. But like, if somebody had a replication that wasn't necessarily deteriorating, then they probably could live forever. I mean, they're probably going to get killed anyway. But
Well, I mean, it depends on the length of your telomere. So, like, lots of times they've done studies on centurions, or people that live to be like above 100 years old. They found, at least in one of my classes I took years ago, that they tend to have longer telomeres than the average person. So, of course, that depends on your sample size when you do those type of studies.
oh,
But
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like now they're trying to do ways in lengthening or like reducing the deterioration of the telomeres. So,
Exactly.
you know how they be doing.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like,
That's the thing they don't know anything about trying to control that.
well, you gotta learn about it. But that's the thing though. That's the thing that you want to say though. Like Walt Disney, I think he's still alive, right?
No, he been dead. What are you talking about?
Wait, he's not the one that got frozen?
No, yeah, you mean cryogenics?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they froze like the brain and stuff like that. But I mean, let's be honest. Even back, they knew what like it's kind of like you could have frozen back then, but now we know like things how to preserve things even better, right? And versus like the type of freeze they would do like decades ago, right? So his brain or his like cells may not be as preserved enough to be like it's cloned or like revived nowadays. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to you, obviously. They had some good technology
Well,
back in the day, man.
I'm asking you like, does it make sense?
Nah, they had some good technology back in the day, man. They went to the moon, man. You know what I'm saying? Apparently.
We this discussion, bro. We're not doing it now.
You don't think they went to the moon?
No, I'm not saying they did it, but like
Wait, what?
just to say because they went to the moon that generally speaking they had great technologies. That's not a good argument to have.
I mean, when I say good
They
technology,
went one aspect sure, but it's not.
I mean, I think they knew how to freeze things. That's what I'm saying.
Across the board.
I mean, like, all right, well, like this. I think I think some people were able to
Like if
closely.
you're shot back then, like something like that, bullet wound. That's it. You're done. Now you can survive bullet wounds.
All right, I don't know about that, but
Based
look,
on different surgical procedures.
like here, like I want to say this, like 0 Kelvin, okay,
Or
like.
even like heart attacks. Like that was distant. Now you can survive heart attack.
All right, let me say absolute zero Kelvin. Like they actually very closely approached that a lot of years ago, as far as I can understand. Like, so it wasn't like they didn't know how to freeze things back then. That's what I'm saying. So I think let's see, the current world record was set obviously in 1999, but there was obviously attempts and records before that. In 1999 though, it was like 100 picokelvins, or I'm looking at the Wikipedia page where it's like 0.000000, 1 of a Kelvin. But it's like you don't need to be that cold. But I think that they and as far as I understand, they probably even updated
Sure,
it.
but
Oh,
what
crap!
I'm
Did I
saying
even send this out?
like you have to understand like when you die like at a certain point like your cells are at that point dying as well, right? So like any way of trying to maintain the state of your body parts or anything of that nature, every second counts. And we know more about that now than we did back then.
So hold on a second. He died before he was frozen, or he was frozen alive? I thought he was frozen alive.
Pretty sure he died before he was frozen. I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure. I'm pretty sure though. But you can
okay.
check.
No, I didn't know he was, because if he was dead, then that's different. I didn't know he was dead.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that simple. I just, this is freeze him up. Like, nah, freeze
okay, my bad. I thought he was, okay, no, because I don't know, I always thought that he was frozen before he died. Okay, no, I looked it up. It says a long-standing urban legend maintains that Disney was cryonically frozen. Disney's daughter, Diane, later stated there's absolutely no truth to the rumor my father, Walt Disney, wished to be frozen. So, yeah, he probably wasn't frozen. I don't know. I guess it was just an urban legend. But it would just have made a lot more sense to freeze him before he died, not to just freeze him afterward. I mean, oh, he's dead now. Let's put him in the freezer.
Just preserving the body, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, that's cool. I guess.
Is it Futurama?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I thought that's what Futurama was about. But I mean, shit. Okay. I thought they was okay. Look at that. Fry got better treatment than Walt Disney. Exactly. You know what I mean? All right. So let's say it's the same reason that a man can crawl but a dog cannot walk. When it comes to men, a noble can do savage things, but a savage cannot do noble things. Africans can disorder.
Wait, dogs crawl.
You said what?
Dogs crawl now?
You don't think dogs crawl?
Nah, to crawl you gotta be like dragging your body parts, like on your knees. Like dogs walk on their paws.
Oh, you call it walking? That's weird.
I mean, I don't call it crawling. I've never called a dog say they're crawling. No.
You might be right. I don't think I ever heard that either. I don't know why I thought I did. Like, that's weird. I don't know. What?
Now to think about it, have you ever like say, oh, that dog's crawling? No.
No, but like if somebody is crawling, you say, well, you're not an animal,
Yeah.
But, like, wow, okay, that's interesting, because I actually always, let me see something. Oh, okay, that's interesting. That's weird. Okay. I mean, yeah, you might be right. It's on one's hands and knees is to crawl, like a baby or something. Interesting. Let me see. Crawling with ants.
Go ahead, throw out the book, man.
I know, right? Sure, that's like one of my favorites. But like, shit, I can't have no typo like that. All right, I guess I'm taking off the market. All right. No, I'm joking. But yeah.
Nobody will notice.
Huh? Nobody will notice, right? They're like, wait, it was on the market?
I didn't know you still had it available.
Wait a minute, let's say, but a savage cannot do noble things. Africans can disorder most assuredly, but this is not to say that Eurasians can order. Nature is of the utmost. So, so crawl might be a little bit of a dang. So I said dog cannot walk. Interesting. But, interesting. That's weird. Alright, so, but the idea being that, you can always do something that lesser animals, if you will. Well, not lesser animals, but, what other animals,
That's
other...
pretty elitist.
Huh?
That's pretty elitist.
Yeah, I know, right? We are the humans. We are the upper animals. We are the higher animals. Right? Like, we're not, like, freaking humans. Like, we're not... like, we don't focus everything on humanity anyway. You know what I mean? Like, it's like... I'm telling you, man, when you look at these monkeys, man, they have no... They're not worried about the elections. They're not worried about, global warming, per se. Although, apparently that there was a gorilla that they taught sign language to, and the gorilla was like, hey, stop messing up the earth,
Matter of fact, it's crazy. We had to read a book in my freshman year in high school called Ishmael. It was about this dude basically in a room talking to a gorilla about the earth, environmentalism, things like that.
Uh-huh. Well, why is that crazy? Why is that crazy?
No, because you brought up the sign language gorilla talking about messing up the earth.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. But that's legit, like what the animals.
I wonder that it could be the inspiration for that book now that I think about it. But yeah.
Yeah, well, probably not because that book sounds like it's old, but it's possible. But yeah, I mean, like because you can see the video of the sign language monkey, the sign language gorilla. But gorillas are. I think maybe the animal world is kind of like, whoa, these humans are garbage. But it depends on like what part of the animal world you're in. Like it might just be that if you're like isolated from humans, like these.
I think at any part you're gonna be like, yo, something up right now. Like, why is it warm on me? Like in the North South Pole, like, yo, it's kind of warm right now, bro. What's going on? Like you a polar bear or a penguin.
Oh, maybe a polar bear might be saying warm. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, yo,
Maybe.
what's up?
I don't know anybody who's gonna be in the North Pole saying it's warm, but yeah, I mean, maybe a polar bear might be like, oh man, it's not
I'm
as.
losing real estate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my house at? Hey, dude, with my car. Anyway, I don't know how that show ended. All right, yeah. So a savage can do noble things, but a noble can do savage things, but a savage can't do noble things. So it's just this idea that realistically speaking, we have to look at Wazungu for what Wazungu is, and that's really like the height and the realism behind it. The reality that humans, that Africans are to be the builders of this. Like there are builders and there are destroyers in a sense, and the Africans are the builders, and the Wazungu are the destroyers. But that's not to say that there's not going to be Africans who can destroy, but it's you have to realize that these Wazungu aren't going to build, or aren't going to build what you need, You said what? Oh, Buhari. Oh, this guy, man. Of course you're going to say it under your breath, man. Say it with your chest. Psych! That's exactly.
Like, listen, I gotta watch out.
He's like, oh, Buhari. I was just sneezing. I was just coughing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he gonna be at there. He gonna be like, oh, I'm visiting my family over here. Remember what you said in that program, My accent. I know you're gonna be mad at my accent. All right. Sound more Kenyan, right? All right. There were kingdoms.
Regardless.
What do you say?
Trash regardless.
For my accent?
Yeah.
I mean, like I don't be listening to y'all, so it don't matter. Like you get accents by listening to folk. If you don't listen to people.
About growing up in a place or like with a family like that.
Yeah, listening to them. Yeah, but if you're not listening to people, like I don't really like watch. Like I would get my accent best if I'm watching something from there, But I haven't watched anything recently where they had like strong accents, There were kingdoms in Africa that killed whites on sight. There were ancient Africans who invaded Eurasia to kill whites on sight, and there were African kingdoms which fell because whites were allowed entrance. This is something that we have to understand about that. It's like, you can. I mean, obviously in this global economy, it'd probably be, why would you, all right. Well, an example of killing people on sight, matter of fact, was that I think that Andam, I can't remember what the name of the people were, but they were just killing white people on sight. Like anybody that tried to come into their land, they were shooting at them, and we got them on video, like, what primitive people? But it's like they were there for how many years because of it. And they're not, and they preserve their culture, they preserve their economy because of it, And we might say, oh, it's not that great a culture, not that great of economy, but it works for them.
I'm going to say that.
Exactly. It works for them, right? Whereas we, a lot of us, that used to be how it was in Africa, in some places. But then some places it wasn't like that. It's like, hey, you're here, you want to be a brother? Sure. Like, okay, let's work together. Let's do what we have to do. And then now we're here, like we're like legit in America. Some of us voluntarily, some of us involuntarily. Well, no, nobody voluntarily.
I want to say voluntarily.
Exactly.
It's because of out of necessity.
Yeah, exactly. So some people more involuntary than others, but it's like you're like involuntarily here. So like our parents had to migrate here because essentially our ancient ancestors allowed white folk to come into their land. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's really what it is. Like my ancestors were stolen.
Spade, basically.
Huh?
Call spade a spade to say for what it is.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
No, I'm saying like you're saying. I mean, essentially because our ancestors,
Oh yeah, well we just got deceived. Yeah. So it's like my ancestors were stolen into Jamaica, and then Jamaica was screwed up. So my parents came to America, your ancestors might not have been stolen, but Nigeria was just messed up, and then their parents had to migrate to America, and other people's ancestors might have been stolen directly to America. But the reality is that, if there was never this allowance of these white folk to come in, we would still all be in this nice Africa. You know what I mean? Like Africa was just on point. You know what I mean? Like being evil, I guess, you would be like building, miniature pyramids and
get my architecture skills up.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have your free community. You'd have access to food and all that. You'd have so much going on. Me, I might have been.
On deck.
Yeah, if I'd been him on deck, yeah. I mean, me, I could have probably been a Khan. You know what I mean? And noble Khan, yeah. Anyway, the interesting thing is that we probably would be talking about our jollof rices.
Yeah, I was about to say you got trashed in law.
No, that's quite the opposite, my friend. Anyway, you got that back. No, I'm joking. I actually never had. This kid. All right. I actually never had either. I only had Senegalese, but I mean, this was pretty good. This is the one I just got.
Just jump in real quick.
Exactly, right? Like, watch out, man. Say something good, right? All right. So if they were good amongst whites, why were they born white? So this is classic. Well, I mean, it's actually interesting, particularly if you listen to people like Lila Africa, who tell you that melanin actually has a good impact on a person's demeanor, and I mean it possibly does, or a person's creativity, a person's all that, and particularly when Lila Africa was talking about was internal melanin, So essentially, like the human physiology, right, does differ by race. Like sometimes we say, oh, you can't tell the difference between a white brain and a black brain. But apparently there are like...
You have this a lot in genomics, bro. I understand what you mean.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cool. Well, I mean, it's not just for you, though. Like, we actually...
No, I'm saying, these conversations, like the only differences we have are in, like, our SNPs, like a single, like, nucleotides. Like, essentially, we're all the same. But, I mean, obviously, it kind of look, like, I don't know. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, apparently one of the things that Light Africa would tell you is the 7 spinal, like 7 things in your spinal cord or something like that. Like, we have 7 melanin centers, whereas other people may have, like, 1 or 2 or something like that.
I never heard of that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Light Africa, you want to take with a grain of salt,
Yeah, well, R.I.P.
Huh? Yeah, exactly. But
the R.I.P.
Yeah. But even so, there is this physiological importance that we don't necessarily always take into account. And I do think, yes, maybe it's possible that melanin does have an impact on a person's psychology, and not just melanin too. It's like also where you're from. So like when it came to the monkeys, when it came to the monkeys, a lot of what the narrator was saying was that because they lived in an abundance, like following a monsoon in a jungle, which I guess a monsoon is like heavy rain season or whatever. But following this heavy rain season, there was just plenty of fruit and fauna and flora. Yeah, so it's like you have plenty. Well, not just bananas, but like, Well, I mean, I don't know the fruits there, to be honest. But yeah, again, it's like a forest in the middle of wherever.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't really have like our fruits, but it looked like coconut, kind of like a coconut variant, banana variant, all that kind of stuff. But they had plenty of it, so in abundance, you might have a better demeanor, But that's one thing, dude. All right, so you might have an abundance of I mean, like in abundance, you might have a better demeanor. That's one thing, and that's actually what the southern-northern cradle thing that Cheikh Anta Diop was talking about relates to the idea that the 2 different cradles, but also it's like the winter, like the cold versus the hot, can also have an impact on your physiology. I mean, on your psychology, in the sense of like partly why you would have nightmares is because you are in a cold. Like if you're cold, you might have a nightmare.
I've never had a nightmare in the summer when it's hot. I wake up in sweats.
Yeah, exactly. But like nightmares. But the thing with nightmares, what they do is they also increase your paranoia, They increase your proclivity to violence.
Sure.
They increase your, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I'd wake up having fights with the people, or like getting into fights with the people around me, or like being suspicious of the people around me. You know? So it's like, but like imagine that being the norm, through, you know, all year round. You know what I'm saying? Like every time you go to sleep, you wake up suspecting your brother of doing something to your wife or something, or suspecting your wife of doing something to her, you know, your children, and that's like the constant.
Or waking up with like a sword on your neck.
A sword?
You know what I'm saying? Like waking up with like invaders at your neck, like with a sword, that way to, you know, kill you on sight.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like that also can play a part. So it's like I don't know if it's like it could be the internal melanin plus the terrible weather plus the you know the scarcity of food, because that's what Kidi Asaba was saying to his son, was that because white people don't have much, that's why they invade other people, you know. Whereas
well, I think there's a lot of different factors as well, but I want to say just strictly because of, let's say, weather and like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just named 3. But yeah, I mean, this guy. I wouldn't say it's just one.
For example,
like, yeah.
Like if we talk about like here, you know, like when summer comes, you know, like the murder rates tend to be higher in the summer months. You know, if you work more outside more.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I was saying black people in America. If we talk about black people in particular.
But we know why that's the case. Not because of the heat
Yeah,
necessarily.
exactly. Scarcity. Like we have scarcity, so we're bound to like want more from other people. And then of course we're also, like you said, we're also outside more and all that, you know, which is you know, I mean, you know, it's what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like but yeah.
Somebody, hey bro, that's ops.
Ops?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
No, I know what you're talking about. Well, just explain it for the people.
Sometimes.
Explain it for the people at home, you know.
Your enemies. People against you.
Oh yeah, opponents, yeah, ops, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. See, I mean, just yeah. So let's see the comments.
Ever since someone told you cap, oh yeah, no cap, you be using the air. No cap, oh yeah, cap.
No capitalism, right? That's what it is, the capitalism?
Yeah, you be OD with it. Show your age.
Oh yeah, right? No cap, guys. Word to your mother, kids. No, I'm joking. It's a phrase. All right, never mind. I needed an accent to do it. All right. Dude trying to form an organization through honest means. Oh, this is a future in the YouTube chat. Dude trying to form organization through honest means like community development sucks and is too much work. I'm gonna try the cult religious method. Power comes easier that way. I feel like this. I feel like you say this every week.
Just admit it, bro. It's okay. We ain't mad at you.
Huh? Yeah, I feel like Future says this every week, but it's not Future. I feel like the other one. I feel like it's I can't remember the other name, but I feel like it's 2 people always trying to go into the NOI. But it's like, yeah.
If you want.
I mean, yeah, if you want to go to the NOI, like every week it's like, yo, man, you know, I really want to be the NOI. You're like, all right, man, just like follow your dreams, man, follow your heart, you know. But you know, well, I mean, I wouldn't do it, you know. But you know, yeah. Afromax says that BB for ODA, which is cool. So that means, oh, you know what that means, brother? Since you're so hip. Machiavelli, you know what that means? Now he playing deaf. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Black folk. They don't want to be uncool, man. They want to be left out. All right. Sorry, let's say he didn't understand how anyone could have liked the lecture, but it didn't matter to him. He didn't even use American currency. So the reality is that you can be in America and like that's another way to avoid being taxed. If you don't use American currency, you probably won't be taxed because your money won't be able to be traced in that sense. Well, it depends on, of course, and I mean like it depends on if you're using a currency that Americans don't recognize. You know, so like cowrie shells. If you do all your engagement in cowrie shells, you don't necessarily have to report it, you know, to the IRS. But if you do it in Bitcoins, then today, yes, you have to report it to the IRS nowadays. Maybe it wasn't like that before though. So let's see. Men should. I'm gonna try to jump past that Bitcoin comment before this guy starts pretending to be deaf because he's a Bitcoin fanatic. All right. So men should always suspect danger, as a sleeping man dies easily. So, you know, this kind of touches onto the whole paranoia thing, but it is a reality of our people today, especially in the West, that we are dealing with an opponent who himself doesn't sleep. You know, so if he doesn't sleep, then when you're sleeping, you're vulnerable. All right, let's go to the next one. Yeah, of course. You can't defend yourself. Huh? No, but you can't defend yourself when you're sleeping. Yeah, but you can't defend yourself. You know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to kill somebody, like if I wanted to kill Mike, well, I wouldn't say that because I don't want to. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. But like, huh?
Just incriminate yourself, man.
No, I'm just saying if I wanted to kill somebody and they were sleeping, it would be much easier than if I wanted to kill them when they were alive. Like if I'm trying to kill somebody who's like a threat, like a physical threat, it would be much easier to kill them while they're sleeping than if they were alive, because.
If they were alive.
I mean, sorry, then they were awake. You know.
Okay.
It's much easier to kill a dead person, you know, obviously. Got you, bitch. All right. So this way, learned is a strong term for a weak man. The man offered no solutions, only problems, wasted breath. And this is the thing with our people in general, that we tend to say that our people are learned. You know, our scholars and our activists, if you will, are learned, but they don't offer real solutions. They only tell you the problems. You know, so
that's the lecture circuit right there.
Exactly, that's a lecture circuit. So it's like, you know, that's the issue that we have. You know, like today, like, you know, people are gonna be like, man, you know what? These you know, I mean, you're gonna say it's the classic shilling. What are you trying to do? I'll tell you, I gotta watch this kid, man. He's trying to jump and slap the chandelier. You know, like I don't know why I was. Huh?
Wait with them.
Wait, he's trying to slap a chandelier. I'm not gonna play.
That's your seed, man.
I'm not gonna.
It's your gene right there.
I'm not gonna play with him and slap a chandelier. That's
ridiculous. That's your genes, man.
That's ridiculous, man. Like, why would you try to slap?
You can't sit up here and wait for people to give you the solution. If somebody can give you the idea, it's your job to come up with a solution. It's to attack the people who, right? There are people who give lectures, and then there are people who come up with solutions. But to sit up here and be like, oh, that's the problem with these guys, that's not their role. Everyone has a different role, right? If you're a free-thinking individual, you don't need somebody to provide you with a solution. I mean, what type of weak mentality is that? Hey, these guys over here giving lectures, they not providing y'all us with no solutions. That's your job.
Oh, for some reason I thought you were talking about the chandelier thing.
We have the pro-black perspective versus PC.
Uh-oh.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Bing. All right, no, I thought he was talking about the chandelier thing. I thought he was saying that was ridiculous. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you were saying if somebody doesn't offer solutions. Well, I mean, the idea is that if you're collecting money to just talk about problems, like the context of this was that.
No, that's that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying the context of this quote was that there's an individual who told you all these problems, and by the way, I wrote this in maybe 2016. So if it mirrors Yvette Carnell, it's just happens that, you know, they did that same thing. But the and the reason why I say that is that, like, basically there's a lecture that goes on. There's a lecture that goes on, and he's talking about police brutality, actually. And what they do with the police brutality conversation is that they list the data, the disparities behind black and white violence, the disparities, blah, 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 blah. And then eventually they say, all right, you know, let me collect some more money to speak about it some more. And so Zuberi's like, that's not, you know, like that's not a good way to engage people, because when you engage people, like if you're engaging people who aren't informed, then you want to inform them with things that they can do, so on and so forth.
No, you want to inform them with the information that's needed to solve the problem. If you don't have any understanding of the situation at hand, you need all the data that's available to you. You're not, right? I give you the data set, you go forward from there. Yeah. What type of, I don't know, it just seems weird, like the way you're interpreting it. It just seems very strange. Like, if you don't have a clear understanding of the problem,
yes, you
will not come up with a solution. That's actually one of the.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, all right. Well, I'll ask you this, PC. Do you believe that?
Teachers.
Exactly, PC. Do you believe that everybody can come up with a solution?
Yes.
So you've never met anybody who you just felt like, you know what, this person, even with.
Everyone is capable of doing it.
I mean, yes, but
teachers though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
go to school and it is to show you, like, okay, here's the problem to solve this equation. You've never seen the equation in your life. You need someone to teach you how to do it.
No.
To know how to do it.
No, wrong.
The solution.
That's wrong. That's 100% wrong.
Okay, so if I gave you a plus 4 equals 6,
so
without any knowledge of it, how would you solve that question? Without any knowledge about solving equations or anything that nature.
So you've never solved anything without somebody showing you how to do it first. Perhaps you don't have the ability to do that, right? This is no disparagement, but
everybody has the ability apparently. But
like, I don't understand. Like,
yeah, if you have no knowledge of how to solve equations, how are you going to approach you've never solved anything without any. For example, when I was young, I solved the Rubik's Cube without. I didn't even know until I was older that they have like manuals that you can use and teach you how to. Right? I had no understanding of how to do it, but I understood what needed to get done. It's completely wrong and wrong to tell people, hey, it's wrong and it's weak to be like, hey, I need somebody to show me how to do it first before I get to the solution. That's terrible. How did you learn how to even add? Like, I'm confused. You don't have
wait,
to
hold on. But PC, when you say you solved the Rubik's Cube, right?
It's possible to solve it's possible to get the solutions without ever having been shown.
Yeah, PC, but the solution to the Rubik's Cube is the solution that you'd have to know. Like, if I were to hand, I'll say it like this: if I were to hand my,
supposed to be by themselves on
that's
it.
Look, that's what I'm saying.
PC. That's not the solution. Don't do that.
PC. If I were to give my son a Rubik's Cube that was mixed up, he would not know that it has to be one solid color on each side.
The only thing that he needs to know, that's not
exactly. But if I tell him that all the colors have to be the same, that would be the solution.
No, it's not. God dang it. That is not the solution. That is not the solution. That's the end. That's not the solution. Are you serious? Yeah,
that's the solution. I'm saying that if you give somebody a mixed up Rubik's Cube, they will not know what to do with it.
No, the equivalent is this. This is the real life equivalent. You know that you aren't supposed to be down bad. We know that we're not supposed to be in this situation we is right now. And we know that there's an existence that can exist for us that's superior to where we are now. That's the equivalent of the Rubik's. That's the equivalent of all one side needs to be red, all one side needs to be red. That is the real life equivalent. You don't need nobody to show you how to get there. That's completely. Why would you even help? Like, think about why that's not a good thing to tell you. Okay,
all right, hold on. But look, I'm giving you real life existence. Like I'm telling you right now. Like, you hear my kid, he's playing with something. He's playing with blocks, and they're literally just laying on the floor in any type of order. He's not going to build. Like, if you give him blocks and you don't show him how to build stuff with it, he's not going to build it.
There are people who
I'm looking at him right now. He's legit stacking these blocks. Like, legit. This is real life.
My people through.
No, bruh, I'm telling you that in real life that there has to be some sort of demonstration for people to do things. Otherwise, they do not do it. Another example. All right, another example is children and like, let's say boys and standing up while they're peeing. You have to show them standing up while they're peeing. Otherwise, they will continue to pee on themselves. You have to potty train people. You have to potty train kids. Or if you do not potty train a kid, they will poop on themselves into adulthood.
This is a little bit different because the nature of learning for a child and the nature of learning for an adult
is the same exact. They're the same exact people. Children and adults are the same exact people. There are no adults who were not children.
No, that's not true. That's completely.
Yes, it is true. There are adults who aren't children.
Children learn differently from adults.
Oh, jeez.
Adults learn through repetition.
They're the same people.
No. Listen to what I'm saying.
Like,
Children learn through. Listen to what I'm saying. Children learn through imitation. Adults learn through repetition. The nature of the learning as you go from adolescent to adult changes. So yes,
you're not making any sense because the children. You don't have children. You don't have children. Children do learn from repetition. To say that they don't is ridiculous.
I didn't say that they did.
You said children learn from imitation. You said children learn from imitation and adults learn from repetition. Imitation and repetition are interconnected. You have to repeatedly imitate.
Oh Lord, the primary mode of learning for adults is repetition. The primary mode of learning for children is imitation.
Repetition.
It's be something you haven't seen it before.
Oh Lord, run people through. Jesus Christ. Okay, perhaps you guys aren't individuals who know how to solve things without having any sort of external stimuli. That's completely fine. But don't tell others.
Bruh, that's humanity. You cannot.
You need practice.
Exactly. Humanity, bruh. You're talking about a human.
Teach myself the program where Black people look at one time and now we talk how to create a whole application. I gotta practice the code. I have to practice it.
Bro, we're not talking about practicing. We're talking about can you get to a solution without having external stimuli? And the answer is yes. The problem is that people believe that they have to be shown everything. If you subscribe to the idea that you need to be shown everything, what happens when you grow up in an environment where there aren't any teachers? You're basically
and wait, hold on a second. So wait, let me ask you this. You said that Black people are through, correct?
No, I said what happens if you grow up in an environment where there are no teachers.
And how are Black people? You said Black people are down bad, correct? Oh, you said Black people are down bad, correct?
We down bad.
All right. Are you and don't you repeatedly say we're through? Didn't you keep saying that throughout this conversation?
I'm being facetious with
but
that.
Didn't you continually say we're through? Now, if you are saying that a people without teachers are through or bound to be down bad, then clearly you're saying that teachers are necessary.
No. I'm saying that. No, this is what I'm saying. If you subscribe to the idea that in order to get to solutions, you must be shown. If you subscribe to that idea, what happens, right? We have entire swaths of our society where there are little to no teachers. Right? What happens to those people? If they were to subscribe to that idea that they need to be shown, and there's nobody to show them, the logical conclusion is they're through. Right? There's nobody to show them. So
the people are through. What part of the people are through don't you understand? Because they don't have any teachers.
But that's I don't believe that. I don't.
You keep saying we're down bad. You keep saying that.
We down bad.
So, but part of the reason why we're down bad is because we don't have any teachers. Like, just connect the dots.
Part of the reason I disagree. I think it's not that you're wrong. It's just we disagree. I think that
bro, you connect the dots, man. Connect the dots, okay? Yes, we're down bad because we don't have any teachers. Like, what?
We're down bad.
Oh my gosh, dude.
No, we're down bad because we subscribe to the idea that you need somebody to teach you.
Because you do. Because you can clearly see that without the teachers, you're freaking down bad. Like, come on, my dude.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my gosh, man.
My brother, we through.
Yeah, you see that we're through. You see what I'm saying? But see the difference between...
I don't... Come on, bro. You know that I'm being facetious.
And then he's like, I don't know when you're being facetious. And then you're like, what do you say, Dear Jesus or something? Like, come on, dude.
If you tell people that they need somebody to teach them, then they're going to believe that they need somebody to teach them.
You need somebody to teach you, dude. We go through a whole... Like, you're telling me that white people don't have teachers?
Okay. I could care less what they got.
You could care less about what the people in power have.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, because
but you think the people in power? Hold on a second. You think the people in power just do it for the shits and giggles? They're like, you know what? We're gonna have teachers, notwithstanding the fact that we don't need teachers.
No, what I'm saying is this.
Why do white people have teachers?
Listen, I'm not from the community. I have no ties to the community. I have no idea. What I'm saying is this.
Oh my gosh. Those black people, man.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen.
There are people in the world who learn things without external stimuli.
Yeah, okay.
Why would you not?
How do you learn something without external stimuli, dude? How can you possibly, dude, no, hold on a second. Look, I want to ask you this. There are quiet rooms. There are quiet rooms where there is no noise, and you can turn off the light. You're saying that you expect somebody with no experience. All right, actually, I'll give you an example. This is a mythical story. But they said that there was like allegedly a king who wanted to learn the original language of humans, right? And I don't think this is the real story, but allegedly there was a king who wanted to know the original language of humans, right? And in order to learn this, the experiment that he did was he put a bunch of children in a area where they were just locked away from humans, from adults. and just among children essentially, and a pile of food, right? And the expectation was that then you would be able to hear like what the original language was after these kids learn language. Do you know what happened to these children? They died. Like they starved to death. They starved to death. The reality is that humans learn from socializing, and this. Hold on a second. This. No. You know this from feral children. You know this, but if you're adult, look, my dude. If you're an adult, all right. Again, if you're an adult, you've already went through external stimuli. So the idea that you have no external stimuli reaching into adulthood is already ridiculous. Now, if you were a child that was raised by animals, which they call them feral children, you will act like an animal.
Well, of course, right? But
all right. So then there is no such thing as no external stimuli. But there's no such thing as no such thing as no external stimuli. Even if you were raised by wolves, you will crawl around like a wolf and howl like a wolf. Even though you're a human being.
Be specific what I mean external stimuli. You don't need someone to teach you. We're talking about adults. We're not talking about children. Stop bringing children. Because children, when you bring children, that changes the nature of the
it's the same people.
We're talking about adults. Adults solving solutions. Adults.
Yes, you would have to know critical thinking. You would have to already be taught problem solving. The feral child. Look, if the feral child reaches adulthood, right?
You keep bringing in children.
All right, I said, all right, the feral adult. If the feral adult, okay, an adult who was feral, all right, they will not know how to do many things that people who aren't feral could do. All right.
Listen, you're purposely changing the nature of the conversation.
I'm not changing the nature of the conversation. You're basically saying that people socialized by white people in the Western system are natural problem solvers. That's what you're saying.
Listen, bro.
Because the white educational system allowed them to be problem solvers, when that's quite contrary to the case.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
That's essentially what you're saying. If you're dismissing feral children,
this is what you're talking about.
If you're dismissing feral children, then you're saying that the children. If the feral children are disqualified, then you're saying that the children socialized in the Western system are. So all right. So if you go to the public school system, right, you should at adulthood be able to solve problems.
Again, that's bringing in children. I'm not dealing with that at all.
Every adult was a child. What's up with you?
Because that's not. Because we're not talking about. Listen, okay. The adults that exist right now. We're not talking about what they did as a kid, what they went through as a kid. The adults that we have on hand right now.
Yes.
These adults have the ability to solve their problems.
Okay, so you believe that because they went through a Western socialization?
No, they have the ability. It has nothing to do with your school. You have the ability. If granted you're functioning human. I don't mean somebody who is struggling from mental illness or something like that, or mental deficiencies. I'm talking about people who are. If you can balance a budget, you can go to work.
How are you going to learn to do any of that stuff without schooling? So you believe All right, hold on a second. You believe that?
That's not the conversation. That's not what I'm talking about. Listen to what I'm talking about. Listen, I'm talking about the adults we have on hand. We can solve our problems
because
ever having an external person to teach us how to get to those problems.
You can't ever not have an external. You already started off with an external solution maker, and those external you already started off with external stimuli. That's the point. The point is that you already went through external stimuli even us speaking English together. Right? We've both experienced external stimuli to teach us this language. Okay? If I was in another part of this world, like if I was in France or something, or in Germany, I would be unable to have the same level of conversation with a native German speaker or a native German community. Okay?
Okay. I have a question for you. Okay. So let's under your paradigm that you need somebody to teach you, where does the teacher come up with the solution from? Where does he come up with the solution? How is it that he has the ability to come up with a solution, but the others don't?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing you want to understand.
Where would he have come up with the solution from?
All right. Here's what I want you to understand, PC. So this is actually a little bit of a strain, but there is the reality. This is the reality that this is something that a white person said, but it's pretty interesting, which is this idea that 1 in 1,000 people. Well, this is they wrote this a long time ago, but it's like 1 in 1,000 people can read, and 1 in 1,000 people who can read can think, So the reality is that you're gonna have, this is particularly among white people, you would have a rare person who can think, per se, and so the solutions would come from the thinkers, but not everybody is going to be necessarily a thinker. And I think, and I want to also say that Carlos A. Cooks also said something similar, to the extent of, he was saying that, there are only so many black people who will come up with the solutions for black people, whereas a lot of people are not really necessarily going to be concerned with that or empowered to do that. So so in that sense, it's like, there are going to be, there are in fact, individuals that do think better than other individuals, or who do think, who do think more than other individuals, And I sometimes see that, for instance, sometimes some people might say, let's say I might be my, quote unquote, whatever. But sometimes, let's say if I'm talking to a sister and she says, wow, this conversation is different from the other guys because the other guys seem to jump straight into, when can I go to your place and have sex or whatever, or the questioning might be, hey, what's your favorite sex position, as opposed to let's say if I'm like, hey, who, have you seen the debate or something, something like that, or whatever, something along the political or economic or whatever. So it's yes, you will have you will actually have individuals who are more more exposed to environs to get the solution. Just the same, you might have people who go through different educational systems and synchronize different educational systems, or have different experiences that can lead to those types of solutions. And so that's why it would be different. And just to compare again, let's say in ancient Africa, a lot of what we did as African people, was an emulation. How you say imitation, but emulation of the animal world. And so, you might see us building pyramids in a sense, but you also could see some insects who would build complex architecture as well. So it's but it's not everybody is exposed to these insects doing this, but somebody might have been exposed and therefore bring that sort of wisdom to the human family. So it is, and that's not to say that everything comes from the animal world, although a lot of things do come from the animal world and the human physiology, and that's something that Lila Africa pointed out too. That, for instance, how certain instruments, how camera lens, are really designed off of the human eye, or how different things in the society are designed off of human anatomy. So, but again, you'd have to be familiar with the human anatomy on top of you have to be familiar with how engineering and building things works. And the thing is that's not necessarily a universally known thing, but it is something that can be found out and discovered through experimentation. And the classic example being magnetic rocks, which are not necessarily human-made things, but they are natural phenomena that we can eventually do. But yeah, that was my answer. Oh, that's it? Okay. All right. But yeah. So I would say that I don't have any expectation that everybody can come up with solutions, because that would imply that everybody, I feel like solutions are a rarity, and it sometimes your experiences allow for it. You said what?
It just, all you do, to me, it's like this. If you go back in time, there was a time where there was no teachers, yet people solved problems. Right? The concept of teaching hasn't been around forever. So how did those people solve the problems that got them from point A to point B? Right? They were never taught critical thinking, because solving problems is something that humans naturally do. But on top of that, you can build a social structure on top of that, such as teaching, which will help promote or reduce a person's ability to solve problems. So to me, if you have people and you make them subscribe to the idea, or you encourage them to the idea of subscribing to the idea of everybody, you have just as much problem solving capability as the next person, and et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
That is better off for. I mean, I come from
No, I understand what you're saying. Look,
that's better off for the society at large.
Yeah,
it's not good to have people believe that only a few people can solve problems, and if you don't have access to those people and to be taught by them, you're through. Well, the nature of our down badness is not entirely due to the fact that we don't have teachers. Although it plays some part,
it mostly is.
But
that's
yeah. Not the source.
Let me articulate it this way. Let me take it this way. It's like, one thing is that you're right about ancient humans in a sense, although they didn't really have the same problems, but you're right in the sense that
they solved the problems that they had.
Well, I mean, look, like I said, I don't know if you heard earlier about the monkeys and like living in abundance, living in trees, right? Like that kind of lifestyle doesn't really have any problems, But you would solve a problem.
What does that have to do with us?
Essentially, if you're talking about like early, because essentially we would have descended from earlier hominids who were living in pretty good lifestyles. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't know about that.
All right, but here's the other thing I want to say is that the phrase goes, necessity is the mother of invention. So
that may not be correct. That's just a cliche.
Yeah. I mean, well, the reason why I bring it up is to say that, and it kind of ties in with this other thing, is that essentially black folk have teachers already. Like in the West, we already have teachers who are Wazungu, who essentially discourage us from critical thinking and discourage us from coming up with solutions. And because of that,
critical thinking isn't necessary. Those people on the plane solve problems without the concept of critical thinking.
No, but again, you're talking about a people.
Ability to solve the
yeah.
problem.
No, but you see what I'm saying? You're talking about a people that basically, essentially, your faculty for problem solving is being destroyed by these external stimuli. So there is an external stimuli that is destroying your like essentially, even if you have, like, all right, let me say it this way: like my son has problem solving ability already.
He probably has better, at this age, he's probably a better problem solver than any of those old world people. Anything that they could imagine.
You said old war people?
10 times better. The old world individuals who's on the plane, right? Like you said, in the trees.
No. What I mean is that because my son's not in the public fool system, right? He does things that are, like, for instance, if I tell, like, when he was younger, I told him to turn on the light, right? And the light's too high. So he, like, legit climbed up the wall and turned on the light, And the way how he climbed the wall was, like, like the ninja style in a sense, of, like, putting his feet on both sides and his hands on both sides and then picking himself up like that. Which, to me, is, like, doesn't make any damn sense. No, like you said, nobody would have told him that. And he just came up with it,
Exactly.
And then another thing is that, like, when I told him to fix the bed on one of the edges, instead of the fourth edge that's in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
He used his feet to push down that side, as opposed to his hands, like most of us kind of struggle with doing, right? He just kind of stood up and used his feet, and I was like, what the, But like that's a part of like natural human problem solving that comes about. But the thing is this: that if you go through the public fool system, right? A lot of those natural problem solving that you would normally have if you were like in an indigenous African educational system, or if you weren't through your enemy's educational system, is actually taken away from you. So the faculties that you would have had, at problem solving are replaced with things that are no longer viable.
Actually, let me take that back. I give you that a little bit, because rote memorization does, from the research that I've seen, rote memorization does affect one's ability to like come up with complex solutions to complex problems.
I mean, but it's not just that either. But it's like this. I'll give you another example. When I was in grad school, we had homework, right, in grad school. Homework in grad school, like in physics, was very difficult for everybody. Okay, and the reason why it was so difficult was because, you know, and like it's only difficult when you don't know the solution already, right? Because they give you all the tools to solve the problem, and then they want you to think outside of the tools. But like up until college, you know, they give you all the tools in order to solve the problem. You know, so
that's the thing. That's literally what I'm proposing.
Yeah. But that's what I'm trying to say.
Sure, they give you the tools, and your job is to. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah. Okay.
You played right into my hand. That makes so much sense.
I don't think it was your hand, but yeah. No, but the reason why I'm pointing that out is to say that you are being socialized to no longer be able to solve your own problems, and because you're socialized to no longer be able to solve your own problems. You know, it is not like even if somebody gave you all the problems on the world, you will not be able to solve those problems under this educational system.
I can't subscribe to that. That's outrageous.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that you will not be able to, but like most people wouldn't be able to.
That's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing.
I mean, yes, it's a terrible thing, but that's why white people are up good. You know, to use your term. You know, they're up good because they, like they're not down bad. They're up good because they have been able to confuse.
Why, but it plays into it.
Yeah, well that's what I'm saying, because they've been able to confuse. They come again?
They show you the problem, like in Congress, they show you the problem, but they give you the tools to solve it. You may not know how to solve it.
Oh yeah, but you definitely not, yeah, exactly. You definitely would not be able to solve it. Yeah.
They'll show you the tools on how to attack it.
You definitely could not. Yeah.
Know the problem.
All right, like give me an example.
Right. That's literally what I'm. Right. We don't need the like you just said it in grad school. They don't show you the way to get to it. Exactly right. We don't need
to give you the tools so you can attack it.
No, you changed it.
No. All right, like look. PC.
I'll let you slide.
PC. It's like this. PC. It's like this. Wait, are you familiar with higher level mathematics, or not really?
Yeah. To some degree, yes.
All right. I mean, do you know about? All right. Do you know about matrix calculus, vector?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Come on, bro.
All right. So, I'll give you an example. So then, like, you're saying, like, you know how to find eigenvectors of a matrix. Okay. So you feel like people who don't have any exposure to mathematics, right, can solve for the eigenvectors of a matrix?
It literally has been done. Do you understand? It has been done. But
by whom?
I will say, but with that, I will say this. I will provide this on caveat. Even with that, those are a rare few people.
That's what I just said.
I will say that. I will say that. No. Because y'all trying to be slick. Y'all trying to be slick. For example, right? For example, there is nothing that can be taught to black people that we have every tool we need to get to our the bottom of our solution. I fundamentally believe right now in 2020, every tool that we need to solve our problem already exists, and
so you have to look into it. Exactly. Look. Let's go back to the eigenvector. Go back to the eigenvector situation. So if you wanted more black people to learn about eigenvectors, would you not teach them about eigenvectors?
This is a bad analogy. Because it's a for example, mathematical problem solving is a sliver of intelligence. For example,
is a what? Sliver? Okay.
This is not. It's a tiny portion.
Yes, but if you wanted people to solve the problem, wouldn't you teach them about eigenvectors?
But not every. But the thing about that.
Exactly. Exactly what you were gonna say. Not everybody. Yeah.
No. But what we're dealing with is something that is not as.
All right, PC.
Mathematical knowledge builds on itself, right? You can't go up without learning the
exactly.
The solutions that we need are not like that.
Yes, they are.
No, they are not. They are not.
All right,
if somebody is beating you upside the head and you never seen somebody, if nobody never told you, hey, you're supposed to get them up off you.
Yes, PC, that's exactly how it is.
You don't need anybody to tell, bro.
PC.
You don't need somebody to say, hey, you got to get them up off your head.
PC, that's your imagination. Look,
it's real life.
No, it's your imagination. I'll show you a quote by Harriet Tubman herself.
quotes don't mean nothing, bro.
Harriet Tubman.
I know what quote you're gonna say.
Right.
Harriet Tubman said,
if more people knew that they exactly, bro, that's all stuff.
No. She says, look, I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. Now that I've been free, I know what a dreadful condition slavery is. Okay? Mm-hmm. So she said that while she was enslaved, she had no idea how bad slavery was.
Like I said.
Like she didn't even know that slavery was a terrible condition. She didn't know how bad slavery was until she was free.
You couldn't think on it. Nah, I don't know about none of that.
No, that's what she says. I grew up like a neglected weed, ignorant of liberty, having no experience of it. Now that I've been free, I know what a dreadful condition slavery is. Exactly. Ignorant of liberty. When you are ignorant of liberty, going through that process, you just think that's life. You don't say, you know what, I know this is a problem, let's blah, 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 blah. You just think that's life. You know? And this is partially why white people, they did two things. One, they tried to ban black people from reading, right? So that they wouldn't get more proclivities towards liberty. But two, they also tried to separate free blacks from enslaved blacks so that enslaved blacks didn't get an idea of freedom and all that kind of stuff. But technically, yes, you would be able to enslave a person, and do all sorts of terrible things to them, which happened, obviously, if they don't know about liberty, because it's not going to be something that's intrinsic.
No, that's ridiculous. Our ability to solve problems is clearly impaired.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be impaired. You have a people who are impairing you. No, all right, like for instance, like this. Like you see, like for instance, my son. Look, like my son. If I wanted to, which I don't, obviously, but if I wanted to, I could like be slapping him or something, right? And he's just gonna take it because he's my son.
No, that's ridiculous.
I mean, not just take it, but
until he leaves and they find out, yo, this is not normal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's ridiculous. You guys
that's
are
not
outrageous. You guys are on a nut right now. No, it's not.
Oh gosh.
Maybe where you from, maybe the people you've been.
Bro, what are you talking? Where you from? Like, yo, I can't stand PC. PC, man, you be talking like you from the best, man. You be talking like
let people beat on them. That's fine. Let's stand on it.
You don't know anybody who don't. So PC, didn't you just tell us that you know somebody who let people beat on them? And you had to tell them to do, huh?
Y'all sick, bro.
I'm sick. You told us this. PC, you told us you know somebody who let people beat on them. What are you talking about?
Y'all sick, bro. Y'all from the people. It's cool. Like I said,
I'm from what people?
But y'all telling the people some bad stuff. You're supposed to stand on the fact that any problem that you have, you can solve your problem. I don't care nothing about no teacher. You can get to the bottom of what you need.
Yeah, that's imaginative, PC. That's imaginative.
No, that's real life. I'm telling you that this is my life. This is real life.
That's
maybe not for y'all. Y'all make
keyword.
PC.
PC.
Your life. Look, PC. You don't come from PC. You don't come from this control of your life. You don't. You've already showed your cards. You've already showed your cards.
No, y'all sick, man. Y'all did wrong and y'all.
I'm saying like you lucky. Look, man, just tell your backstory and then we can talk about that. I mean, I'm not gonna be the one. I'm not gonna be the one, but what? We telling people what? You acting like people, like humans don't go through things. What are you talking about? You're saying humans don't go through abuse and just not know or just not do anything?
Bro.
Okay.
People do not. I come from people who, bro.
You come from people what?
Y'all come from them type of people. That's cool. I'm not trying to.
I come from what type of people? Bruh, my ancestors maroons.
You're making these assumptions, man.
Exactly, my ancestors maroons.
No, ain't no assumptions. What is y'all?
When did anyone say we come from people that just beat on them?
How come y'all? I don't mean all people. I don't mean like y'all mountain man. People beating on y'all like you as an individual. What I mean is you come from a people who let people beat on them. It makes sense, right?
Bruh,
because
I'm descended from maroons. You know what maroons are? Bruh, you know who maroons are? Bruh, you know who maroons are?
Yeah.
All right, I'm descended from Maroons. We ain't let nobody beat us.
Ain't no way you promoting this mentality. You disrespecting the people.
I'm not disrespecting my people. No, I'm letting you know that there were Maroons. There were Maroons, and there were people who stayed on the plantation. My guy, there were people who stayed on the plantation. Period.
Y'all trying to put that on everybody because you need a teacher, and that's the only thing you know.
Yeah, so look, everybody knows. Look, if you look at the history of the Maroons, bruh, if you look at the history of the Maroons, if you look at the history of the Maroons, this dude, bruh, if you look at the history of the Maroons, you know that they came, like a lot of them were allegedly from Coromantee. Okay, they were a particular. Because it's reality, my dude. It's reality.
Okay, so what made them different? If it was reality,
I just said Coromantee was like a particular like incubation. Like a particular incubation.
So it's not reality. It's reality for some people. How come why don't you see that?
No, it's not. No, they were.
The very fact that you said the Maroons shows that it's not reality. It's reality for some people.
No, the Maroons had an educational process too. Like they were like African people. Like if you like the look.
They got some people involved, didn't they?
They got some people what?
They got some people involved.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being an adult, like you said. There's a difference between being an adult and a child in the enslavement process.
No, think about it. You said the Maroons got some people involved. They did. They said, we don't play that. We up out of here. Right?
Yes, they were adults.
Why isn't that behavior the reality?
Because the white people captured children, and they capture your children to this day.
Nah, you sick, bro.
They took the children, separated the children, and the children were no longer as rebellious as the adults who had a history.
Nah, bro, that's still.
You understand? Like there's this lecturer. There's this lecturer who talks about how black people were descended from the Songhai Empire. And I mean, it's not necessarily the truest story, but what he's saying is that essentially one of the ways to control black people was to separate the kids from the parents, and make so that the parents no longer told the history of their children. You know, I mean, there's a big difference between knowing that you like you know how a lot of black people in America think that they only had descendants they only descend from slavery, as opposed to descending from empires. Or kings and queens and all that kind of stuff, you know, or city builders and so on and so forth. You know, when you only think that you came from slavery, which is what they actually did teach black folk in America, right? When you only think you came from slavery, you do not look for more. Whereas if you know that you came from empires, if you know that you were a physician in your motherland, if you know that you were blah blah blah, and I'm saying you know it as in you as an individual were a physician who was kidnapped and all that stuff. If you know that, then yes, you're going to behave differently from a person who doesn't know anything outside of the enslavement experience. And that's just common sense, dude.
No,
like you're not gonna be the same. You're not gonna be the same, bro.
That's the part that kills me. You trying to put y'all weakness on everybody.
That's not a weakness, dude. That's just reality. It's psychology.
That's how it is for us over here. No, that's for you, bro. Don't put that on nobody else. Don't be like, yeah, we all like this. No, that's that Southern talk, bro. You get down.
You said Southern?
You from the people that let people beat on you, and you from the people like what the? How can you be from the Maroons but you standing up there? When your people are a perfect example who said, get up off me. That's crazy.
Yes, but they have. It's like essentially it's the question of how much is knowledge of self. And I try not to use that word. I said that earlier in the podcast that it's not a great word, but it's the question of how much value knowledge of self is. And the reality is that if people take away your knowledge of self, then you can be abused by them. And that's what the public school system does.
They managed to sneak through some knowledge of self. Of self, and they was like, "Yo, we about it."
All right, it's the example of this. Let me give you an example. All right, I'll give you a better example. I'll give you a better example so you can understand what I'm talking about. If you capture a wild lion from Africa, right? They're going to be different from a lion that was born in a circus.
Oh Lord, we threw my people down there.
So you think they're both going to be the same? A wild lion and a lion born in the circus.
Y'all heard the mentality. I'm done.
What? All right, whatever.
Y'all heard it.
Wait, hold on a second. What? I'm also gonna be like, you know what? There's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? This dude gonna be like what? Wait, what? Wait. All right, I don't know. All right, whatever. We're gonna go. We're gonna.
So you telling me you can get in the cage with a lion that's been raised in captivity and walk around and yuck with him and he ain't gonna eat you? Bro, come on.
A lion?
And granted,
in a circus? Yes.
True. I'm not even gonna lie. Some of what you're saying is true, but you're putting too much on it.
Wait, hold on a second. What? Hold on. Y'all gotta look at.
Sixth Freedom Road, the circus right after.
The two Lion Boys in Las Vegas.
Yeah, like I said, some of what you're saying is true, but you put too much on it is my problem. Where we disagree, it's not 100% that what you're saying ain't wrong. You have truth, but then you get to weaving them lies in there, and then trying to put it on everybody. I'm like, hold on now.
Oh wait, I can't show this video. I forgot. I don't know if I can actually show this video legally, but here you guys can see it, huh?
Don't do it to yourself. It's your channel.
Oh yeah. All right, never mind. But there's a video of a lion.
The people gonna get you.
There's a video of a lion licking a dog. Like a dog just walks up to a lion and they're just playing together. You know. And I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah. Video where a lion, some people raised a lion and then they came back. The lion ran grown up.
Yeah, and hugged him. Yeah.
They even attacked him.
Yeah, but the thing that we have to realize. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's no element to nature, that nature won't somehow, so on and so forth. But nature, but there's nature and nurture. We are animals, but nature and nurture.
Really.
No, we are animals. What are you talking about? But anyway, we're not really animals. Yeah. You said what?
Bro, now my boy saying we animals. Y'all hear this, man?
No, but that's just biologically. Not
but not in the way lions are animals. And you know that be true.
Okay, we're not feline, sure, but
you know what I'm saying? We're not lions. You know what I'm saying? That's you saying. No, we're not lions.
I'm about to break it down to these brothers. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Y'all sick, bro. You know good and well that we're superior to lions. Clearly, because we have culture and technology.
Not animals. That's the question.
Not. This is you trying to be slick now. Watch it.
I'm asking a simple question, brother.
Exactly. I said we animals. That's all I said.
You trying to be slick.
You trying to be slick. You said that, He's like, we're not animals. I'm like, yeah, we are.
I said we're not animals in the way that lions are animals.
Yeah, we're not lions. Just say we're not lions. Like,
that's not what I'm talking about. Y'all slick.
What are you talking about? I'm asking for clarification. That's it. Just clarification.
Bro,
you know good and well what it is, bro.
Hold on a second. Wait a second. My dude. Let me ask you this. All right, you have a smartphone. Look, you have a smartphone, and you have I guess it's called an analog phone, right? Is the analog phone less of a phone than the smartphone?
Yes.
Anyway, all right, dude. Anyway, how in the world? They both phones, my dude. Like what?
Come on, now you want to be on that again? We not phones. So because
I know we're not phones, my dude. I never said we were phones.
Right, but because it's true in the phone world, don't mean it exactly carries over to you.
Look, an animal is an animal, my guy. There's no such thing as being more animal. What are you talking about?
Y'all heard it.
Why don't you say less human? Why don't you just say the lion is less human? That makes a lot more sense.
Y'all know what y'all even want to subscribe to this. Go ahead. Y'all heard what he said.
I said that humans are animals. Yes. We are definitely animals. That's not
Hey, the floor is yours, my dude.
Thank you, man. This dude gonna tell me how I am. Alright, so yeah, let's go to the next one. Although technically because we're running kinda late, I'll just do like 10 more minutes and hopefully the 15 people who listen will have gotten something. That was pretty interesting, divergence. There's like 21 people jumped in and out. 4 max right now. But anyway, cool. Education must link with power, otherwise what value can it have? To learn of the hands around my neck, but not how to release them does me no good. So that's another thing. Like actually, and PC, you should actually respect that. In the sense of, like, yes, everybody can solve the problem of a person's hands around their neck, but it's much better to learn how to deal with different situations in martial arts. But okay, otherwise no, don't worry about it. You're right. Why not? Do not teach people martial arts.
Why would you subscribe to that? Why would you subscribe to that, bro?
I thought you liked martial arts training. What? You told me to do martial arts training.
No, not yes. But I'm talking about.
Okay.
Before
All right.
Before I was ever trained, I didn't need to know how to get somebody up off me, bro.
I understand that, but are you saying that there's no value in martial arts training?
No, I would never say anything like that.
Exactly. Are you saying that if somebody tells you, I mean, if you said what? Wait, is it better? Look, is it better? You said I'm evil? Is that what you said?
So tell the people what you tell them, bro.
Look,
evil.
Evil. Okay, that's different. All right.
You're wrong, bro.
All right. Look. Let me ask you this way: is it better for somebody to tell you? Like, is it better for a martial arts instructor to show you how to deal with different situations in combat, or to just tell you the different situations that could come about in combat?
I'm not answering that question.
Okay. All right. Exactly. Machiavelli, what do you think is better for a martial arts instructor?
Y'all still forget to realize who taught them. At a certain point, it didn't exist.
Yes.
So where did it come from?
But exactly. But again, the question. Yes. But you're talking about ancient history, dude. You're talking about ancient history. You're talking about things from 5,000, 6,000 years ago.
No, bro. Y'all sick, bro. If at a certain point it didn't exist.
6,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago.
Listen. At a certain point it didn't exist.
6,000 years ago.
Somebody had to figure it out, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You have the same, that means that you have the same abilities that they have. So you don't always need somebody to teach you, is what I'm saying.
Yes, you don't, but...
You can go ahead and build your own home if you want to. Why not do that? Just go buy it.
Lazy, okay, that's what I do. That's
lazy, alright, man.
Yeah, man. No, the phrase is don't reinvent the wheel. Oh, look, see Machiavelli, now you lazy.
Y'all need to follow after somebody. That's fine. Some men is built like that. Where y'all got to come up behind somebody and you need to be shown every step of the way, and that's fine.
No, but the question is that if you want to do something complex, and advanced, you don't not necessarily.
You can do it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't necessarily neglect the basics.
Don't put that on all black people.
No, look, our ancestors said copy your forefathers. Okay, because intelligence comes. Because intelligence I think comes through work or something like that. But I read it earlier. But actually, let me see if I can scroll back and. But it's like an important phrase that you want to really get for yourself, which is. Exactly, like not at all. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
That's another terrible thing.
Look. Here, listen to this. Look at this. Look, PC. Copy your forefathers, for work is carried out through knowledge. Copy your forefathers, for work is carried out through knowledge. Okay? So knowledge comes from copying your forefathers. All right? Yes, one of your forefathers might have discovered something, but it's only going to become wide scale if we don't say, you know what? If you don't know calculus right now, figure it out. That's what those other people did. They figured out how to do calculus, and it's true. Yes, you can, as an individual playing around with mathematics, eventually discover calculus. But if you want to build something beyond calculus, it's better to just learn the calculus when other people know it, and then build off of it. That's it.
Every generation will just become stagnant at that point. Still
That's bull. That's complete bull because that presupposes that the way that it developed from in generation 1, the way it developed from point A to point C is by definition going to be the same way it develops in generation 3 from point A to point C. That's completely wrong.
But look,
I'll let you slide.
Bruh, you have to build off of the knowledge before you. That's the best way to go about with it. That's the whole PhD program. The whole graduate studies program is building off of the knowledge before you. The whole program.
That's the foundation as it stands today.
Bro, when they made the rockets to go to the moon, you think they made the calculus and physics right then? No.
Exactly.
It's done.
This guy thinks that every time they do something, they reinvent it. They reinvent everything. Let's invent addition. Let's invent addition again.
You're arguing something that I'm not arguing.
Okay, bro. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
He's just calling you lazy.
Tell us. Clarify for everybody.
I made it very clear, but you guys are purposely ignoring it because you can't deal with it.
Well, not saying that obviously it wasn't that clear. It's clarified for us.
No. Sometimes when you're talking to ability to understand concepts is impaired. Like I said, this is what I'm saying. Listen, I know that that's the case.
I mean, I might as well get my disability checked in. I don't know why I'm in school.
Alright, well, you gotta take that with Trump. Anyway, he just said randomly randomly brought up your disability check. I don't know what that was about, but okay. Alright. Look at this. Names, incidents, policies, tactics, they may comfort people who won't lift a finger, but men who raise their fists need more to work on. So, the thing is that's what I was saying about the conscious circuits, that they mostly give you names, incidents, policies, and maybe tactics, but it's not enough to really do something with. And I mean, I understand that some people, some rare individual can solve the problems on their own, and there's some value to that, I guess, PC. But generally speaking, a lot of people in the conscious circuit just go to listen and feel comforted that somebody heard something.
Because they have never been taught. They
What the freak, PC? Yo, PC, what's wrong with you?
You guys teach them.
They've never been taught? Like, what?
Yeah, I cannot finish.
Everything
Right. Listen.
Yo, PC, look, man. All right, man.
You guys teach the people that they need to be taught.
I teach the people that need to be taught. Okay.
You just said it said that they ain't no other way. They got more than enough information. As soon as people realize that they can solve their problems without ever having to be taught and showed the way and handheld like a kid. We're not kids anymore. That's the behavior.
How they gonna figure it out? How they gonna figure it out?
Oh Lord, that's the behavior that you do for children.
So how do they figure it out?
How they gonna figure it out?
What do you mean? Do you not know how to solve a problem?
No, you said that basically because I'm going around teaching people that they need to solve problems. How are they going to figure out that they don't need me, I guess, to solve the problems? Who's gonna? Is somebody gonna teach them? That's the question.
Jesus Christ! So you have no original idea generation.
Wait, hold on a second. You just said that we are holding the people back. You just said that. You just alleged that I was holding the people back. So I'm just saying. All right, absent of me.
You guys aren't creators. You guys are only.
Bro, I wrote several books. I'm fairly creative.
That's what it is. Yes, I'm sure of it. Now that's got to be what it is. You guys are saying things that somebody who isn't. You guys have never come up with an original thought or idea.
Of course I have.
You can even say a question like that. How can you even say?
PC, I'm asking you because you said that we are somehow impeding the people. So if we're impeding the people,
I don't know.
You said the people are being impeded. You said the people are being impeded. So the question is,
you're saying that you don't mean what you really mean. Like, how are we supposed to know?
Yeah, exactly. We don't know what you're talking about, man. He literally just said that we are not creatives. Like, I don't know if you meant that or not. Like,
I believe that you guys may not be creative because you're asking me questions as if you've never come up with.
No, we're asking you questions because you set up an example of people being impeded by being miseducated, right? So then the question is, how do you reverse that miseducation?
There you go, lying. No, this is what I'm saying.
You said that I'm misteaching people.
Listen, the same way that you can come up with an original idea.
Okay.
So you said you can't. You said you're creative. So the very same way you came up with an original idea. Hey,
yes, PC.
In your head one day.
I agree with you. Yes.
Listen, the very same mechanism is the same mechanism that people use.
All right.
But they don't realize.
But they don't realize it. So how are they going to realize it?
Oh, Jesus. I can't do it.
You just said, but they don't realize it. So I'm just asking you, what's the next step for us to take for them to realize it? Is it just hands off?
Dude.
PC, it's common sense. It's like if you said they don't realize it, the question is, what do you? All right, man. Yo, I like PC, man. Like it's like when he gets caught in a bubble. Like when he gets caught, he just like withdraws. It's fun. It's funny. But all right, guys, it's 1:30. I gotta go get me some. I gotta go feed this kid and all that. But
so we through.
Yeah.
You through.
No. What? Wait. Oh, wait. I'm through. Wait. When you say we through, wait, you saying we? When you say we, you don't mean we?
I mean we through. But in this specific example, you through.
Gotcha.
Bro, I want you to order Webster's dictionary.
Exactly. Yo, I tell you, man, this might be.
Okay, let me break it down to my brethren who don't understand.
It ain't we. I got you. We just means you.
We just mean you.
He's speaking French. He's speaking French. No, we means yes. I don't know, but you know, he's speaking another language. Huh?
If you're creative, you can come up. If you're creative, you can come up.
Okay, I got you, my dude.
You sit up. You originally started by attacking the people who's giving a lecture as if they not. Like, bro, you know that people have different roles and different responsibilities. You shouldn't even open your mouth towards them. You already disrespect them off that, but I'll let that fly.
Bro, it was a fake person. It was a fake individual. In the story, it was a fake individual. It wasn't a real individual. It was a fake individual. This was quoted from a story that was critiquing an individual that's not a real person. It wasn't. Huh? I'm quoting a book that I wrote, like creative person. I wrote a book where I made up a fake lecturer and then critiqued that fake lecturer. It's not a real person.
Right,
I'm not disrespecting anybody.
That's a literary tool. That's called property. You're just using a proxy. We know you actually, because I know this because I heard you make that argument before in reference to actual people.
Yeah,
so that
okay.
you can throw that out the window. But the point is this, bro. People subscribe to the idea that they need to be taught. I think you should teach people that you don't need anybody.
Teach people?
One.
Why would we teach them though? That's the point. Come on, dude. You're just adding. Like we're saying we should teach people. You're saying you shouldn't teach people. I mean, which is it? All right, dude. Look, people get it. You should teach people. Gotcha. You should teach people. You should teach, and like you said, you should teach people problem solving. You should teach people that they can solve their own problem, which is something that I agree with you. But you know, what I would say, if you're trying to teach people to solve that they can solve their own problems, you would give them examples of people solving their own problem. On top of that,
you should have led off with that. That would have cleared it all up. So you saying that
what?
All we had to do,
all right, PC.
All you had to do is lead off with the fact that giving people examples of them solving their own problems.
We literally started with that.
Man, yo, PC, man, like, yo. PC, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all. PC, man, you a whole mess, man. Like you make it so that I see why black people fight black people all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand black on black violence now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand. I'm just messing. No, I'm not violent. I'm not violent. I wouldn't be violent against another black person. I like that. Anyway.
We threw.
Yeah, exactly. We threw, man. Like we threw, man. This man, whole time, I'm like, yeah, I feel like these lecturers should give better examples, blah blah blah. And he's all like, no, you blah blah, you disrespectful.
You did not say. I listened to you for like 30 seconds to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing. Then I jumped in. You did not say that.
Hold on a second.
You was like,
I said learned is a strong term for. Well, I mean, it's in the context of the book, but the man offered no solutions, only problems, wasted breath. So, like, when I say, so I understand you might say offer no solutions, but
wasted breath.
Only problems. Only problems. That means that when you give only problems.
How are you going to get to the bottom of your solution if you don't understand the problem?
Yes, but if you're only giving, but like I said, you want to give more than just the problems. You want to give ways to solve the problems.
In the book, you talking about.
In the book, I said that this is a quote from the book. Well, no, in the book, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's the same thing though. Just to say that, like, a solution would be, like, if you say offering solution. Well, all right, in this book, the solution that they had was they built their own independent city, like their own independent community, you know. So he was kind of complaining that they didn't even mention the independent community that they actually built, you know. So for like if you're lecturing, like if there are people who are doing good work, like what you're gonna find in the lecture circuit is that you're going to find black people complaining about how we don't do enough, but then not mention that there are black organizations or black people that are doing stuff, you know? And so
that's that bull.
What's that bull? All right, man, whatever. Look, I gotta go log off. Hopefully, you said I'm complaining or they're complaining?
I said ain't nobody complaining. They trying to get there. You need to fully understand what the problem at hand.
Yes, but you want to, bro. You want to. No, the way how they do it is they, like, if you really pay attention, the way how they do it is, like I said, names, policies, tactics, and what was the other thing? Incidents. So they will say, oh, this person, like they'll say, oh, this person was killed like this. This person was killed. This person. Look at these names. Hashtag this. Hashtag that. Hashtag this. Hashtag that.
Exactly.
That's not solution building. Yeah.
No.
I mean, but look, every black person knows this. All right.
Recognition.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No,
Okay.
they don't.
Okay.
They're left. No, they
Well, every black person can figure it out, don't you think?
Okay. According to you, no. They need to be taught.
According to you, they you know, you don't need to tell them nothing because it's on the news that you
Just
watched
happens in the
yourself.
vacuum, in the
No,
void.
you steady lying. Look how y'all slick. Boy, y'all heard what he said. Y'all lying, but I'm gonna let you slide. Go ahead.
All right. Anyway, yeah, but no, I was just gonna close off the. I'm gonna change it from Sunday African worship because we know it's Sunday. Well, Sunday has this implication. We know it's African, and we're just gonna call it the weekly worship. So thanks everybody for joining me for the weekly worship. I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna go get some food for this kid and all that stuff. Thank you, Machiavelli. Thank you, PC. It was an interesting conversation. But yeah, we'll chat another time. But and if you guys want to go a podcast, yeah, we through. You know what I'm saying? Show me I'm on chat. All right, yeah.